Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next few hours, along with Spence.
Howdy.
And Bruce.
Yes, sir.
And Mike.
Howdy.
And our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is being brought to you by thatvidblasterguy.com.
And what is the date?
Today's date is December 29th, I believe. Yeah. December 29th.
2013.
2013, yeah. Next time it's going to be 14.
You know what? Did we ever talk about this being your 20th year?
No, talk about it.
I just was, as I was going back and looking at some records, I realized that you've been on the air since 1993. And that's worth mentioning. I'm not sure what the anniversary date was, but this is finishing up the 20th year of what started out, I think it was first called Computer Town or something like that.
Computer Town, USA.
Yeah. I started listening, I think it was around 95 when it was, I don't remember what it was. What was the next name after you moved to the 2-hour format on Saturday?
We changed it to, it was incrementing every year. Computers 2K6, Computer 2K7, Computers 96, 97,
right,
98, Computers 99. Then when we got to 2000, it was just 2K1, 2K2, and I said, forget it. Let's just 2K now.
Well, that's shorter
computers
than
to know.
2K insert year here.
2K insert year in here. 2K
That's
insert
right.
year.
Or just
2K
2K.
fill in the blank.
Yeah, that's
I think-
right. It's 20 years.
I think the first show I was
Hey,
on was
10 more years I can retire.
Yeah, that's right. You get a very lucrative pension.
You know, Spence,
Yeah.
when you first said something about Amnon and records, immediately the number 78 came into my mind. He's that old, right?
Sure, it wasn't the Edison, the
Wax.
original phonograph with the wax cylinders.
There you go.
I heard something the other night. I didn't realize that. It's funny. One of the local radio stations has several interesting trivia talk show type formats at night. One WPTF, and Tom Kearney is this guy that does a bunch of these different shows, call-in shows. It's always interesting. Very low key, very laid back. But they were talking about how they actually have a show where they talk about necrology, I think it is. Who's alive and who's dead. And somebody brought up the fact that Casey Kasem is still alive. I thought he had died.
Oh, yeah, he's in very poor health.
Yeah, he's not expected to live. He's got Parkinson's, late stage Parkinson's, and he's not expected to live.
And he can't, he's unable to even talk.
Yeah, so they said January, but he's expecting to be gone within a month. But I thought he had already died.
No, he wasn't that old when he was doing all that stuff. A lot of these old radio guys were 18, 19, 20 years old when they were hitting their primes in the radio business. Yeah,
so they play, I think it's 102.9 plays Casey
American
Kasem's
Top 40.
American Top 40 from the 70s and 80s.
I was in his studio where that show was done.
Yeah, it's just it's so funny to listen to it being played as though it was that date without any. They don't. Maybe once an hour they might identify the fact that we're playing this from 19 whatever it is, but you're just riding along in the car like it was 19.
I think his son is doing the today's
Top 40
stuff,
now?
something. Yeah, something like that, because there's somebody else, Kasem.
It is his kids are fighting with his wife over whether they can even get to see him. She's shielding him away from them.
Oh, what a shame.
Wow.
That's always bad.
Well,
Sad to say, in many years of ministry, and not with parishioners that I pastored, but every once in a while a pastor gets called by a funeral home to work with the family because they are not affiliated with a particular church or not. And I've seen this happen too many times. It is tragic, so hurtful and harmful. You think people would be able to, come together at a time like this, but greed prevails many times.
Yeah, well, I don't know, Bruce. We've never talked about this, but I'm not into New Age nonsense. But one thing that I do believe in, I don't know how to translate it into the spiritual language we believe in, but karma is a bitch, as they say.
Yep.
Karma will always come back and bite you in the ass.
Here's how you do that. It's Galatians 6:9. Be not deceived, for whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap.
Yes, so I'm proud. That's exactly what I was going to say. In all seriousness, I was going to. You reap what you sow is what we Southerners say. But
yeah,
and it's fact, and that's not even a religious comment. You look through your life, and if you go out planting seeds for thorns, you're not going to grow rose bushes per se. Or actually, you might, but that wasn't a good example.
I want to welcome our Block Talk Radio listeners, if there are any out there, and we are on TalkShoe. And I know there's nobody there now, but when there will be, Mike is going to tell you what you can, what you cannot do.
What does that mean?
I need to unmute all. I don't remember you saying...
No, you don't unmute anybody.
Oh, I thought...
Not unless they raise their hand and want to talk.
Okay, the instructions there were saying unmute all. Okay.
Well, yeah, but that means anybody who starts talking is on the air.
Right. Okay, no, sure. Well,
yeah, you don't want to do that.
So, yeah, so you see, that's what I'm talking about.
Dan says, for every plus there is an equal minus. And that's a law of nature, and it's true, and it happens everywhere. The problem that we as Americans in this modern year of 2013-14, the problem is that we want the plus and the minus to balance immediately. We want it right now. We can't wait for a week or a year or 10 years. We want it right now.
Yeah. It's like Seinfeld said. It always evens out.
Well, that's, again, it's a universal law of nature, and that is that nature abhors a vacuum. Makes you wonder what some people have in their heads, but the things will find their point of equilibrium.
Like in government-sponsored programs?
Oh, geez.
That's a good comment, because
there's a lot of karma there coming back to bite some people.
Well, the problem is it's biting the people who didn't cause it.
Right, that's the problem.
No, I agree, but I think the results are going to be evident down the road.
And we won't go political, but just as an example, the reason, and I had this conversation with someone recently. Of course, my kids ask questions about these things, and I tell them, I said, this will work its way out. You might not like the solution, but it will work its way out. Things have a way of balancing themselves through nature. And the environment and all sorts of things like that have ways of balancing themselves. But all that being said, I'm not going to go political. Let's just leave it at that. We'll go political later.
Yeah, read the chat. We're getting real.
Well, we got some good people here. I mean, you can tell these are quality people because they know these things. These are universal truths. And again, you can quote the Bible, or you can quote the Quran, or whatever you want to quote. But what you're dealing with are what are called universal truths, and that is, even if you take the biblical passage, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," you can say, "Oh, I don't believe in all that Bible stuff." But the fact is, you're going to live by that rule. It's universal truths are like the law of gravity. It really doesn't matter whether you believe in it.
It happens.
Yep. Kind of like go way back into natural law. And the tenets of natural law have been there for a long time and just have been expressed in different ways through the Magna Carta and through other documents over the years. But it's the foundation for our court system and, kind of our Western civilization and morals. And it's all biblically rooted. Or, I mean, you can argue that, but I believe it is.
Yep.
Tim saying, let's go back to dial-up. That will fix it all.
That's it. Turn off the...
After the experience we had on Rick's house yesterday, I thought we were on dial-up.
Yeah, tell us.
Oh, I don't know what to tell. We had the worst technical experience yesterday doing Rick's house that I have ever had doing a broadcast of any sort. Had some of the very strangest things happen, and I'll tell you, I'll just give you a summary, but I mean, it would take 30 minutes to tell you everything that went wrong. I was sitting here going nuts, but I bring Rick in on Skype 1, and I feed the audio to the radio station on Skype 2. That's just part of the setup. Okay, I got Rick in here. Everything's fine. He and I tested the night before for a long time. Everything's perfect. So I bring him in. Everything here is working great as far as him coming to me. But I could not get what's called the back feed. I could not get the back feed to come up because Blink would not connect. It would connect for him, but it wouldn't connect for me. I tried it on 2 computers. I do have a new computer. I thought maybe something's misconfigured on the computer. Well, I ultimately get it set up so that we're two-way on Skype, which we don't normally do because of the ducking issue. Well, so then I get him on here, and then I connect to the radio station, and now Rick's volume goes down to less than 50%. And I found out that if I disconnected because the radio station kept losing its Skype connection, every time it lost its Skype connection, Rick's volume came back to normal. I said, whoa, this is strange. And I found out last night at 11:15 that there is a setting for you broadcasters. There is a setting in Windows 7 that, and others too, that if you go into, like, if you right-click on the speaker icon in the lower right corner of your screen, click on the tab for recording devices, and you'll end up with 4 tabs: playback, recording sounds, communication. Click on the communications tab. And this is something that I'm not sure that too many people use, but it's activated all the time, so you really ought to be aware of it. It says that Windows can automatically adjust the volume of different sounds when you are using your PC to place or receive telephone calls. Now, what I now understand that means is, communications is that if you're going to use either Skype or Blink or something as the communications device as opposed to other audio device, then that's what this applies to. And the default settings is to reduce the volume of others by 80%. What this means theoretically is that if I am listening to a YouTube video and I receive a telephone call on my SIP client, which is assigned as a communications device, Bruce calls me on my SIP device, then once it connects, it cuts the volume of YouTube by 80% so I can hear what Bruce is saying. Well, I learned at 11:15 last night that, and this can vary based on the way you have your system set up, but I put it on do nothing, and the problem went away. And again, it's like anything else. Once you find the source of the problem, the effect of the problem makes perfect sense. So be careful with that communications tab setting, because it will do things even whenever you're not planning for it to do so. Once I discovered this, I posted it on Twitter, and one of our buddies on Twitter thanked me for doing so because he said he ran into the problem a couple of weeks ago and had no idea what was causing it. So there you go.
Yep. Yeah, you could do a 5-minute segment on audio property hijacking by various apps. Not just the problem you're addressing, but there are many apps that will totally change your settings, and then when you go back to use something else, you find them changed suddenly.
Well, and we don't get into that deeply now, but whenever I've talked about this, I think, before, when we installed one of the latest versions, one of the latest updates to Skype, it has some very bad interactions with my Delta 1010 LT sound card. And that is that if I go into Tools, Options, Audio Settings on Skype, and if I adjust the input level, the microphone level for Skype to anything other than all the way open, there's no audio. meaning that I had to leave it wide open and then adjust my mixer settings externally to keep from blowing everybody on the other side out of their chair with too much volume.
I saw an interesting meme when we were talking about, tradition and principles and stuff like that. I was not sure I can share it or not. Well, let's see. I have to probably move it around. But I thought this was pretty good. If you ever want to call a family meeting, just turn off the Wi-Fi router and wait in the room where it's located.
Amen. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll put the link to that graphic there in the chat. In case
Pretty
anybody
good.
else wants to
Pretty
see it.
good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Everybody had a good Christmas? Of course.
I would have to say it went really well.
There is no... Is this... Bruce, you're the...
Careful.
I
Company
know. That's
chaplain.
why I'm being careful. Never mind.
He's the
Bruce,
company
is there
chaplain.
such a thing as a bad Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, listen,
Can
there
happen.
Christmas is a time with very high rates of depression.
And
Suicide rates, yep. And that's why it's so important. I love a good friend of mine, and he may be listening right now, Duke Carrico. One of the things he does, and I know a lot of other people do, and it's kind of risky to do, but you know what? No pain, no gain. His wife will cook up a big meal for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and just Facebook and say, anybody who wants to come, just come. Just let us know you're coming, and they just kind of open house. There are people that we could each have some kind of a special touch with that could really make a huge difference in their Christmas. For us, Christmas was awesome. We had and I can't get into all the details here, but we had something that's concerned us for over 14 years that we saw a huge change and shift, I would say, in answer to prayer. But so it's been a great Christmas. Last night we live in Virginia, and in Florida we knew where all the great Christmas light displays were. Well, there's the Elks. You're familiar with the Order of the Elks, okay? It's what do you call those organizations? Fraternal organizations. So there's the Fraternal Elks National Home. It's kind of like a retirement complex, and it's a very old, stately facility. They do this lighting display in Bedford, Virginia. So we invited my daughter and the granddaughters over, and we made hot chocolate, popcorn. We got piled in the car, and we drove to Bedford and saw this display. It was a wonderful, wonderful time with the family. So
Awesome.
yep.
Nice.
So how was your Christmas, Amnon?
Mine?
Yes, yours.
Well, it was fine. We just stayed home. We had a couple of friends over. We ate, and we watched TV.
Yeah.
My wife and I saw The Hobbit on Christmas Day.
We have wanted, ever since my wife decorated for Christmas, we've been wanting to have people over. She was sick for over a month, half well for about a week or so. Now she's back with it again, coughing her head off. She can't even talk 2 sentences without having to cough. It's the strangest thing.
You are I. It's hey, Bruce, what did you think of The Hobbit? We're going to go see that today.
Oh, it was great. It was excellent.
Just
Yeah,
watched the first movie last night just to make sure everything was fresh.
Tell us how it ends.
No, in fact, the end. I will just tell you is rather abrupt, and will leave you waiting for December 2014 to come very, very quickly.
Yep.
So,
I can tell you how it ends, Amnon.
No.
It ends at the beginning of another book called The Lord of the Rings.
No, but I want to say something to what Bruce was saying before, that it was like the end of so many years of prayer and whatever. Is that what you said, Bruce?
you're right.
We do other shows here on Nissan Communications, and one of them is Reawaken Your Brilliance, which is about body, mind, spirit, and it's spiritual people that not in religion, but in I mean, it involves religion, but it's talking about higher realms and things that a lot of people think are kooky. But almost everybody is talking about that 2014 is going to bring a big change. And
it's called Obamacare.
Well, no. And
okay.
I know that Lisa moved to Hawaii. Another person there's something in Hawaii that is getting people to come in as far as spirits and things like that. It's interesting.
No, it's actually a very, very liberal welfare system. Free everything.
Yeah.
And it's sunny.
Do you remember the Time Machine movie?
Yeah.
And how the guy goes into the future and he finds these mind-numbed people just that seem to have everything done for them and they don't have to work and they just play and everything. That's kind of almost where we're headed if we're not careful.
Well, there was another movie like that lately. I mean, more modern, about this person that went into the future, and the president was a disc jockey, and they didn't know about putting water on plants in order for it to grow. I can't remember the name of it. But it was sort of like it was very much I would say a satire. But a lot of the things apply to today.
Well, think about
and how it's going to affect us in the future.
Universal
this-
truths.
And it's
discussion with somebody the other day about how, think about just not even 100 years ago, people spent most of their time doing things to survive. If you lived on a small farm somewhere and you had no other income, you had to get crops in the ground to survive. You had to do things to live. And now we have leisure time because technology and automation and industry has created leisure time, and the middle class, the shrinking middle class, but the middle class has disposable income. It's like, what was it like before this revolution happened? So, Bruce, you're right. It's getting to the point where it'll be where there are so many skills and things will be lost. Like, Mike, you talked about this, about skills that are going to go away because blacksmithing, things like that, nobody knows how to do it. And if society ever does collapse, where technology just gets shut off and there aren't these quick fixes to everything, quick and manufacturing to make things, there won't be things unless people relearn.
Let me elaborate on that a tiny bit. Using blacksmithing as an example, I'm not convinced that blacksmithing will go away. Let me tell you what my concern is. And this is not meant to be political because both sides of the aisle are guilty of this nonsense. But let's take blacksmithing as an example. Let's suppose that it becomes impossible to find someone to do blacksmithing. Yet society needs the products that result from the skill of a blacksmith. That means there is a void in the marketplace. In a truly entrepreneurial positive society, that means someone's going to say, wow, I can learn how to do this. I'm going to go back into the history books and figure out how people used to do blacksmithing because there is an opportunity here. I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity to provide for my family and live a better life. But whenever you have a political environment that is hostile to success and hostile to entrepreneurism, people are going to say, oh, screw it, I'll just sit at home and get a check.
Yep.
huh?
Hey, George was asking a question in the chat, and I'm not familiar with our Roku channel, but is our Roku channel just audio or is it video as well?
It's video, but it's not live.
Oh, okay.
It's only RSS feed.
The recorded one, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mad Wizard mentions about tool and die maker. My grandfather was what they called an experimental machinist. He didn't have even a high school diploma, but because he was such an expert at machining metal, they needed to give him a title. He couldn't get an engineer's title because he didn't have the education. So they gave him the title of experimental machinist. And he did things. He worked for Otis Elevator for many years, but he also worked for other companies. And he was so good at what he did that the Navy and the Defense Department used to come to him after he retired to have him make prototype parts for projects. We don't know what projects were. They wouldn't tell him anything. They just say, here's the spec. You need to make this, and it has to be, the tolerances are so fine that you need to do this for us because we can't automate this. This is 20, 30 years ago.
Wasn't he the guy that identified the Caterpillar gear on the Red October? The Navy came to him.
Yeah, yeah. But he was such a fine machinist of what he could make. He used to keep a box of examples of these little parts that he would make for the Navy. And think about the tolerances that he could do by hand that today could only be done by a computer because it just is not possible. The skill isn't there anymore.
Well, as you guys so well know, one of the things that I have taken up is woodworking. And doing so, I have become acquainted with several guys, quite a few guys, including several in very close proximity to me. These guys are still practicing the craft of precision and perfection. They're doing it for the love of the technology, not because they're trying to make a moon lander or something of that nature. They give of themselves freely. They teach others. In fact, they enjoy teaching about as much as they enjoy doing. That meaning that they're spreading the craft. Interestingly enough, I mean, my son's always been a good kid. He just turned 27. I mean, he's now becoming a school teacher. He just completed his teaching certificate requirements, whatever those technical things are. But it just was total by lark. There's a guy on the internet named Paul Sellers out of the UK who is kind of like Roy Underhill on steroids. He's a guy who knows how to make things using hand tools as opposed to using machine tools. He knows how to cut dovetails by hand. He can take a hand plane and plane the twist out of a shelving board and get it to within several thousandths of an inch. I mean, you watch this guy, you got to be amazed. It doesn't look that hard until you try it. Well, interestingly enough, over the last couple of weeks, I was mentioning some things to my son about some little things I wanted to do, and I happened to mention if you want to be impressed with a craftsman, go to the internet and look up a guy named Paul Sellers. He said, "What do you mean look up Paul Sellers?" He said, "I have watched every one of his videos." He said, "That's exactly what I want to do." So a lot of my son's Christmas this year was not a lot of it, but some of it were, for example, he got some tools. He got a little dovetail saw that I got over at Klingspor that does just a little super job of cutting little pieces of wood to make things out of. He was here last night, and he's dying to get into block planes, and I found one that I've never used. I gave him that one, so he's going to learn how to use it and teach me. But again, it's human nature to want to learn how to do things. It's human nature to want to learn to do things well. It's whenever the socio-political system interjects itself into our daily lives that disrupt this natural tendency to want to do things at a positive quality level. And I think that we, and like the people in this group, you can tell even in the chat posts, we have to resist the temptation to become commonplace or complacent.
Hey, somebody posted this. I'm going to go ahead and share it on my screen here. You talk about woodworking and craftsmanship. I don't know if you've seen this, but look at this table, and who did this? Who dreamed this up? I mean, what went into the creating of this amazing table?
Well, look, unfortunately, you illustrate a beautiful point, Bruce, because look in the bottom right corner. Where was it innovated?
Right. Yeah.
Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen this video. I've seen the plans for this table.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
It's not even complicated.
Mm.
It's not complicated. You just have these. Cutting the top into that many pieces. That any good woodworker can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the skill in the top is making sure that these lines where they intersect are perfectly straight so that whenever the table closes, the lines disappear, right?
Right.
And any good worker can make the table top. Then the bottom carriage of that is when you see it. If she were to take the tabletop off and if you saw what was underneath it, it's not that complicated. But somebody has to think that thing through. All the best ideas in the world are not necessarily that complicated. They're just well thought out.
Yeah. Mm.
Lots of people in the U.S. have made that table, by the way.
Oh, really? Mm.
Oh, yeah, that's a biggie.
The girl or the woman in the picture doesn't look like she's Japanese, so it could be that it's just some Japanese news agency that's showing the videos.
I'm pretty sure that table was in Japan because I've seen the video.
Yeah.
All right, let's go a little bit to the computer side so we can switch.
Computers, they're so 90s.
Listen to this. Fearing rapidly plummeting sales of traditional laptops and desktop computers, which fell by another 10% or so in 2013, manufacturers are planning to revolt against Microsoft and the Windows operating system, analysts say. At the 2014 CES in Las Vegas, multiple computer makers will unveil systems that simultaneously run two different operating systems, both Windows and the Android OS that powers many of the world's tablets and smartphones. Two different analysts said recently. The new devices will be called PC Plus machines. Explained analyst Tim Bajarin. A PC Plus machine will run Windows 8.1, but will also run Android apps as well. Another analyst put the threat to Windows bluntly. He said this should scare the heck out of Microsoft.
Yeah, but they're still selling a Microsoft license.
I know, but when people are getting exposed to more and more of Android, and vendors will start writing more and more productivity software for the Android, you can see a shift, and it's just going to the scales are going to tip. I mean, I agree. Microsoft should worry about this, but I mean, I don't know why. Why threaten Microsoft? It's not Microsoft's fault that it's they're losing market to the tablets that run Androids.
Well, you could argue that it's mainly Microsoft's fault because they get to the point where, whether they're aware of it or not, they get to the point where they're so haughty about who they are that they lose track of how they got there. And then you got all these other people competing with them, and they don't know how to react. They don't know how to respond.
Yeah, but I don't think that Microsoft can compete in that market of the little tablets because you couldn't install, unless they come up with the new Windows.
Of course they could.
You couldn't install Windows on a little tablet. Yeah.
Amnon.
Yeah.
Kick out the conventional wisdom. If we became the board, you're the CEO and we're the board of directors at Microsoft,
then we do.
We get together.
Then we do.
And we decide that tablets are the way to go. We can go hook up with Foxconn. We can go do whatever we want to. We can put the guys writing an operating system. If Microsoft can't compete in that arena, then there is no arena because they created the arena. What they're doing is they have become a dinosaur that is being led around by a nose ring instead of leading the pack. That's why my theory was that they tried to lead the pack with Windows 8 and blew it, which is why they have had some staff changes at very high levels at Microsoft.
To give an example, Dell Venue 8 Pro is a Windows 8 tablet, right? $279.
Yep.
How much memory does it have? How much storage does it have?
32 gig.
Okay, well.
So, but I mean, the devices are out there, and that's the whole point of Windows 8 was to retool the desktop experience for tablets. What they missed was having that experience be transparent between devices. They said, "Oh, tablets all the way. Produce desktops now that look like tablets, and we don't care about the desktop user anymore." That's where they made their big mistake. They just said, "Oh, we have to go full tilt into this. It's the only thing we can do." And I don't know that you can say that Apple did this intentionally or not, but Apple has a very good transition between their portable devices and the Mac OS operating system. People they didn't try to make it exactly the same.
But let me ask this, though, Spence. If you're transitioning from a MacBook Pro to an iPad, there is no touch screen on the MacBook Pro.
And they didn't try to make it look like the iPad.
But would you agree that you're transitioning from using a mouse to using your finger?
Yeah, and I go back and forth between both on a regular basis, and
But what I'm saying is that's not a seamless transition, and what I'm getting to is, in my opinion, Microsoft was trying to drive the transition where you used your finger on the desktop and on the pad computer.
True, but Mac didn't try to come up with touchscreen laptops.
I know that. They could have. Well, I'm assuming that. I don't know everything I assume is correct, but what I'm saying
is
here,
that they didn't. There wasn't a lot of pain, and there wasn't a lot of angst by the user community when they came out with the iPad, because when they came out with Windows 8, everybody went, "What? I'm not doing this." And you might love the Windows 8 tablet, but the PC side without a touchscreen, why have? Unless you like the way the screen looks, there's no compelling reason to jump over there, because it was designed as a touch interface.
Let me ask you a question, though. How many people, Mac users, I'll be nice, how many Mac users have you seen them reach up and touch the screen on their MacBook Pros trying to get it to do things instead of touching the mouse? I'm not sure they know the difference between the two, but I've seen many people do it, and then they giggle about it, saying, "Oh, I was thinking I was on my iPad," and they reach up and they're touching the screen on the MacBook Pro.
Hey, Mike.
I've never done it.
Hello, computer?
Hello.
Computer. You remember that?
Working.
Computer.
Okay, Google.
Yeah, that's the Scotty in that movie where they were.
Yep.
And
don't go to movies and I don't watch commercials.
Looks at the mouse and he looks at the computer and says, "How quaint."
Talk about Apple. Taiwan's Fair Trade Commission has hit Apple with a small fine and warned the company that it may face a more substantial penalty if it doesn't stop interfering with carriers' iPhone pricing and the prices of the plane's carrier sale alongside the iPhone. Through email correspondence between Apple and these three telecom companies, it was discovered the companies submit their pricing plans to Apple to be approved or confirmed before the products hit the market. That's what Taiwan's FTC said in a statement. It's amazing that we want to compete, but we tell you how to.
That's always been true with a lot of industry leaders. You look at how the people who produce specialty software, how they market their products. It's not done in any way to enable or to encourage competition.
Let me tell you how. Sorry,
a lock-in strategy is, and a suppression strategy is the way it goes.
If Microsoft wanted to assert itself in the tablet market and to become a real leader, all they have to do is one tried and true technique for doing so. It was proved back in the 40s with records whenever RCA invented the 45 RPM record player. What they did was they sold the record. They had a patent on the record player and the record. And what they did was manufactured record players and sold them at manufacturer's cost, because without record players, people weren't going to buy records.
Right.
Once they sold them the record player, they bought records. It worked. If Microsoft wanted to assert itself in the tablet market, All they would need to do is go to Foxconn, the same people who manufacture the iPads and all the other Apple products, the same people who manufacture Dell and all the other computers, come up with their own design. They may be on their way now with the Surface. Get this thing down to their manufacturer's cost, which is probably about 1/4 of what they sell it for. Go out into the marketplace, sell it for that, make no money whatsoever on the hardware so that they can make their operating system the stable. The same thing happens with that happened with the Nexus tablets. I mean, they didn't make any money on the hardware to speak of, but they got a presence in the marketplace. It's like Tony says, give away the razors and sell them razor blades.
Yep.
If they want to do it, when you see them do something like that, then now all of a sudden they've gotten the idea. But no, a lot of these companies look at it as a blow to their egos that they can't just release Windows 8 and have everyone run to them and thank them for changing the normal way of doing things.
Somebody
but
needs to talk to
that's
Jeff Bezos.
the what?
Somebody needs to talk to Jeff Bezos. I mean, look at Amazon. I mean, that's their model.
Yeah, but
Just
the thing about it, Mike, is I can go and I can buy the Surface for $100 and load Linux on it, and Microsoft will never see a penny from me. So it's that with the shaver and the blades, the razor and the blade, it's you cannot get a blade from another one and put it on your razor.
Oh, sure you can.
I don't think so.
Sure you can.
All right.
Sure you can. And this is, again, and I'm not criticizing you for this, Amnon, but this is the same thing that because, I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs when I was in private practice. But if everything's not perfect, they just sit there waiting for perfection and they end up doing nothing. There is no perfect solution, but because there are people, if they could buy a no-name pad or a Microsoft pad, there's value in the Microsoft name. Not everyone hates Microsoft, but that's mostly Apple people and Linux people. Most other people who use Microsoft are very happy with it. They must be if they still got 85-90% of the marketplace, when there are at least theoretically alternatives. So they could certainly make a big. Look at what happened in the browser market. Whenever Netscape came out and knocked Microsoft all the way to the back row when it came to the Internet. And Microsoft said, what was it? Gates said the Internet was overrated and didn't bother developing a browser. Then whenever Netscape came in and had a virtual monopoly on browsers, then Microsoft said, well, we need to look at this. So then they came along and added Internet Explorer to the operating system. Then they made it integral to the operating system. Then they got sued for unfair and deceptive trade practice. Now, I mean, a lot of people use Firefox, but it would be laughable to say they have a monopoly. I mean, Chrome, I'm sure, is used as much or more than Firefox anymore. And like anything else, Firefox has suffered from rot in that they have made it so bloated and crashes so many times. That's Chrome is doing the same things. They're bloating the same thing. They're bloating themselves to the point of becoming almost unusable in certain situations.
Yeah, they do.
Hey, I was interested when you said that about what Microsoft's markup is. I found an article. It's an older article, but there is actually something out there about cost of manufacture. First Surface RT with keyboard cost $284 to build. That was back in late 2012, November 2012. So you're right in line, Mike. The RT, what did the original price of the RT go for? The 32?
I don't know.
It was probably somewhere around $600.
Well, the rule of thumb for a stable product is 25%.
Yep. So they do. They actually have people that go and reverse engineer to find out the cost of goods to build. They'll take a new product and they'll go out and look at all the different manufacturers, Foxconn and so on, who do the design build, and they'll know the cost of components and the cost on larger scales and all that manufacturing costs. It's all out there.
Why do you think Apple went so aggressively after people making Hackintoshes?
Oh, I know why.
Because they can make a computer the same hardware, everything is almost the same, but it's running iOS. It just as well does a good job for about 1/3 the cost or less.
Yep. No, I mean that's a company is considered successful. They can continue to keep their product out there, and people will continue to pay what they pay, and demand continues to go up despite the price. Yep. Well, on a similar note, I'll just mention something my son and I discussing the other day was about. I saw an article about how if there was an attack, to go back to our subject of if technology went away, if there was an attack on the U.S. Power grid, and there's actually an article I read saying that there was a small attack at a power plant in California, but they're wondering if that was a test run for a larger scale attack. But if there was an attack on the power grid in the United States using an electromagnetic pulse weapon, depending on the size of the weapon and the scale, it could take from 4 to 10 years for the power grid to be rebuilt because of the transformer technology that's used. It's very susceptible to electromagnetic pulse. It's not shielded at all, and the suppliers who manufacture these are mainly in the United States. And if the power went off, they wouldn't be able to manufacture replacement parts, so we'd be relying on other countries to do that. And that this was kind of a call to action to say we need to upgrade our the security of and technology used in our power grid because it's really old technology by today's standards.
That assumes that DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is paying no attention whatsoever to the issue. And whereas I do not in any way, shape, or form support the NSA's activities, that they're involved in spying on everything we do, I do not support that. And I do think that the Department of Homeland Security has dramatically overstepped their authorization and have insinuated themselves into things where they have no business. I do think protecting the national security of this country is a primary function of the federal government, and they should be not only on it, but good at it. And as critical as I am of the government in certain things, I would be hard pressed to believe that they are not already monitoring, watching, and tracking things that could cause the type of destruction that you're talking about.
Oh no, I don't doubt that.
I mean, that's a hope.
The scale to do something like this article talked about would require a weapon on the scale that they don't think terrorists could get. Because the best way to do this would be to do it from space.
And they've got to get it there. Transporting it from point A to point B is a major point of investigation of the NSA and the Department of Homeland Security. I think it's safe to say now, and I won't tell the source of the information because it's probably not classified, but it could have been at the time. People wanted to know why we were in Iraq. Why were we fighting the war in Iraq? Why are we in Iran? And the reality is that the part that for some reason I never heard publicly spoken, but was the primary reason, is that the United States government identified several paths that terrorists were using to transport weapons of mass destruction through those countries. And a major part of the occupation of those countries was to shut down those supply routes. And they were successful. But it was never talked about here, and the reason I know it is because it was told to me by a guy who was actually on duty guarding those supply routes. And I asked him at the height of the criticism of this war under Bush, I said, "You're there. You're the one with the gun in your hand. Should we be? I mean, you're risking your life, limb, and everything to be there to protect this country. Should we be there? Yes or no?" He said, "Absolutely." Yep. So what I'm saying is there's a lot going on we don't know about. A lot of it is bad, but some of it is good.
There was another article that, Amnon, you would appreciate this. Former head of airport security for Israel is quoted as saying, the TSA couldn't save you from a 6-year-old with a water balloon.
Do they say what's his name?
Rafi Sela.
Because
he
my
was
cousin
just saying about how the current TSA, they're a subdivision, I guess, of the Homeland Security. Just a lot of what they do is just unnecessary and ridiculous. Because they said if they only taught people how to do profiling,
profiling the right way.
Yeah, and that the fact that we have people wait in these big lines outside of security is the stupidest thing that he said he've ever seen, because now you've got hundreds of people waiting a queue before they've been screened.
Yeah.
And that if anybody wanted to walk in with a bomb, it's very possible to do so. It's just amazing that it hasn't happened. But he goes on to talk about how the Israelis did it, where they would break up groups. Everybody is screened in small rooms, separated small groups of people. Everybody gets eye contact. They said that is the most important part of screening passengers, is looking them in the eye and asking them, where are you going? Why are you going? And they said they can tell right then, because people's body language will give them away.
That's
there's
it.
a risk.
I mean, even when I went, the one time that I went back to visit, and I had to go through airport security. I mean, here's an Israeli that hasn't been in the country for about 20 years. And they took me aside, and they asked me questions, and they wanted to know what's, they wanted to open the suitcase and stuff. But the whole time, and it was a girl that was talking to me, the whole time she was looking right into my eyes. Yeah. I would open the suitcase. She will ask a question. She would put her hand in there, and the whole time she was looking straight at me. And it makes you feel good, because you say, well, yeah, if there was something going on, this girl will catch somebody who is trying to do something bad. They can read you. That's what they're trained to do, and it's not like, I mean, we are counting too much on technology, on machines that would do it, and there's so many ways to beat machines. It's unbelievable. Did you hear that? There was a story that some people, you go until the end, and you say, what? That in Israel, they build a new way to do it now, to check for bombs. It's a booth. It's an armored booth, a big booth. And you have to walk through it with all your luggage. You go in, they close the door on both sides, and they emit signals that if there are any explosives, it's going to explode right there.
That'll stop it.
I mean, it's a joke, but
clean up on aisle 2.
Yep.
It's the way that you just have to do things that will actually make your efforts successful to prevent that type of crime, and that's the ultimate. I mean, obviously you can't do this, but they know how to do it there.
This guy's article also talks about politics playing a significant role in everything that the TSA does. And an example he gave was that the reason why there are all these full-body scanners in the airport is because the former head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, was an investor in a full-body scanner company called Rapid Scan.
Oh, well.
No, that never happens. That never happens. But the one glaring thing he talks about, he says, is that airports, the way we build airports, it's these huge open spaces with glass everywhere. He said, you just gave them, you don't need to pack the bomb with shrapnel anymore. You just have to build the bomb, because the glass is the shrapnel. You've given the potential attacker a way of hitting everybody in that open space if they create the right explosion. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start the new show.
Yeah, we should.
Move the Computers 2K now to Sunday evening and do this type of show in the morning.
Politics show.
Oh, I don't think anybody cares. We'll just do a Google Hangout because
Here's
we'll probably
something-
chase
here's-
off all the listeners.
Here's something for you to chew on, and Mike, need your input. In 2009, the National Science Foundation teamed up with the Census Bureau to ask U.S. businesses how important intellectual property was to them. Now, after 3 years of surveys, the results are in. Astonishingly, it turns out that when asked, 90% of businesses say intellectual property is not important, while some very large businesses and specific sectors indicate that patents, copyrights, and trademarks are important. Overall, the figures are shockingly low. What's more, the survey's results have received hardly any press. It appears that formal intellectual property protection is far less important to the vast majority of U.S. businesses than some federal agencies, such as the Patent Office, are willing to admit.
Did
What-
they ask Apple that question?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing is, did they ask the music industry?
Yeah. I mean, you say 90% say it's not important. 91% of them don't understand it.
That's kind of like what I was thinking, because I mean, yeah, if you go and you ask a dry cleaner, well, I mean, there's no such thing as intellectual property there. So no, it's not important to us. And a lot of companies actually do not have intellectual property or claims on any intellectual property. There are companies that do have it, but most companies don't, right, Mike?
Well, a lot of companies pay no attention to it, but that's not even important. What's important is to intellectual property in many ways has a lot of the same ancillary effects as the space program. People say, why do we need to spend tax money sending people up in rockets? And the reality is that to be able to send people up into space takes an awful lot of technology. When
Right.
you have engineers and scientists working towards a common goal, even the offshoots of the technology have dramatically improved the quality of life on the ground, including, for example, ways of preserving food, certain medications, ways of treating things with limited resources, air filtration systems, energy conservation systems. All these things were researched and developed at levels much higher than would normally happen on the ground for everyday purposes, or at least that's my theory. So is there waste and fraud and corruption in the space program? Absolutely. But should we be striving to be better at a higher level? Yes.
Well, yeah, now China is on the moon.
Hey, we're doing much better. We've produced they're producing the first helium-filled hard drives. So we're making advances.
Mm.
Is there going to be a what do you call them?
They're a lot lighter than the old ones.
What do you call
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that? What do you call the things that you grease a joint with?
Grease gun?
No, the
Helium gun? The filler?
Ben Gay.
the nipple that you put on it.
Oh, wait a minute.
What's the name of it? Something with a Z.
You mean the fitting that you put the grease into?
Grease fitting, yeah.
The one that every ball joint has the fitting that you put the gun onto to inject the grease into it.
You're talking about that little ball joint fitting? The little round thing with the hole in it that you put the grease gun on?
What's the name of it? Zerk. That's it.
Zerk.
Thanks,
I
Jeff.
just found it. Yep.
Jeff,
Never heard of it.
Zerk fitting.
Yeah, Zerk. Do they have? Are they going to have a Zerk fitting like that to
Put helium,
replenish
putting helium in,
helium through it? Are people
The
going to
problem
open?
is, if you get a helium-filled drive and you're listening to music, all the voices are much higher.
People are going to make holes in the drive and, hi, good morning.
Well, the neat part about that story is that the drives now, they've made a technology gain to where they can build in the same height. They can go from a 5-disc to a 7-disc design.
Yeah.
So it takes what could be the maximum, say, of 4 terabytes in a 3.5-inch drive, now goes to 6 terabytes because the helium allows them to do something different with the density of the drives. It says that the lighter gas, it's possible to make hard drives that, due to reduced air resistance, spin faster and consume less power. The problem they're having is that to seal them with helium is much harder.
It's very hard, I'll bet.
Yeah, because helium is apparently the molecules are much smaller. That's why a helium balloon doesn't last.
Yeah.
The
Morning,
foil
Nick.
ones do, but the latex ones don't hold the helium very long.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
How's everybody doing? I'm good. How are you?
How long did you play last night?
I was on for like 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
You're still playing?
Well, that's not a long. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I got off around 11.
Yeah, I have
Is
a
that
lot
too
of
long,
respect
Amnon?
for.
No, it's not. But it's and I enjoyed a lot of it.
The unfortunate thing is I've learned that you have, unless you do long format, it doesn't work. Like, you can't just do half an hour here, half an hour there.
Oh, you guys
I'm
should have
sorry,
seen.
go ahead.
You guys should have seen those kids playing. It's fun. It's fun to be in there. And what is that game of the Days?
Daisy.
DayZ. What is that about? I mean, I didn't stay long enough to see what's the. I mean, is it a shoot 'em kind of thing?
So it's a zombie survival game.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting echo from somebody.
Uh-oh.
You hearing that?
We're not here. I don't hear it here. I don't know. Do you guys hear echo?
No.
Oh,
Wonder why I'm hearing it from.
You know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering if it's because. Wait a second. Let me turn down. Do you hear echo now?
Hello. Yes.
Okay, so that's not it. Interesting.
It's coming through speakers.
Let me.
That's why I'm hearing it.
Sure. No, it's not. Oh, you mean it's coming through? So if
It's not a straight
but then I
echo.
won't
It's
hear
coming
you.
through somebody's speakers. Hello? I don't hear it now.
Try it.
Hello? It's gone. Whatever you did, turned it off.
Well, I actually turned off my speakers.
Oh, well, that's not good. Actually, it's gone now. No.
It is gone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's fine.
Skype just bumped into up to like a higher quality mode. I don't know. Maybe Skype is in like a low audio mode. I'm not sure, but it sounds fine now. Because now your voice sounds so much clearer.
All right.
Gotta love Skype.
Yeah, Mike loves it too. Mike is not listening.
I am listening.
Um,
I have to admit the problem that I ran into yesterday was not a Skype problem. It was a Windows problem not detected by Mike.
Did you say Windows problem?
It was.
I don't
No.
believe you.
I don't care.
Get a Mac. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. And I don't know if I need to give the people on Block Talk Radio the number, or they're already on it. Mike, do you know how it
They're
works?
already on it.
Okay, so never mind.
They can join by computer or by telephone, and if they're using Blog Talk or TalkShoe,
They're already there.
they already know how to connect.
Okay. You know, we were talking about. Well, no, we were not talking about. This is going to take it again in a political way.
Uh-oh.
We'll get to it later. We'll get to it later. XP. I don't know how to take this. Shona Ghosh writes at PC Pro that the final deadline for Windows XP support in April 2014 will act as a starting pistol for developing new exploits as hackers reverse engineer patches issued for Windows 7 or Windows 8 to scout for XP vulnerabilities. The very first month that Microsoft releases security updates for supported versions of Windows, attackers will reverse engineer those updates, find the vulnerabilities, and test Windows XP to see if it shares them, says Tim Raines, the director of Microsoft Trustworthy Computing Group. Microsoft says that XP shares 30 security holes with Windows 7 and Windows 8 between July 2012 and 13. Greg Kaiser says that if a major chunk of the world's PCs remains tied to XP, as seems certain, Microsoft will face an unenviable choice. Stick to plan and put millions of customers at risk from malware infection, or backtrack from long-standing policies and proclamations. So there's a good chance that they will have to continue support for XP, or it'll mess them up, because people will keep on blaming Microsoft. Hey, it doesn't matter that the operating system is not being supported. It's yours.
Yeah, I called them about a problem with Windows 2000 the other day, and they just weren't receptive to helping me.
But when is it going to die? I mean, it has to.
Why?
Because they shouldn't be wasting their time supporting the old operating system. They should be focusing on the new stuff.
And that's
Well,
the
every time
really,
they focus on the new stuff, they seem to get it wrong. They need to stick with
Well,
the old
that's the
stuff.
thing.
They got it right.
Windows 8 is a total disaster. They should be putting all their time towards that, not Windows XP.
Well, I disagree with part of what you just said. I don't think Windows 8 is a total disaster. I think that the bones of Windows 8 are probably the same bones as Windows 7 and are probably pretty darn good. What I think they did is they went into a mode where they're trying to drive people to this touch technology, and they did so without providing full legacy support for us Windows 7 people. That's where I think they went wrong. I think that I don't know how the system works at Microsoft, but I think in 6 months' time, with the right mandate, that is, do it or else, I think that Windows 8 could be turned into a killer operating system. I don't think they'd have to rewrite the bones. That's my theory.
that's
What do you think?
any software company managing releases and revenue is probably the most difficult thing. How do I bring out new product to get people to buy it, have a reason to buy it, and yet still support older versions? How far back do I go? You see this all the time with networking hardware providers, which is where I came from, telecommunications stuff, about how we'll go back and we'll support 2 releases prior to the current release, and we're going to end of life support at such and such a date. And everybody always screams, but I have this equipment, it's 4 years old, and I don't want to have to upgrade. Hey, it's a really difficult, I can see both sides. So you've got to have a revenue stream coming in to provide the support and to provide the viability going forward, but you also have to protect your customers' investment. It's really hard to do. You got to. It's just balancing like anything. It's a pendulum swings one way and the other. You got great value for the customer, and the company's not making that much money or any money, and then it swings the other way where the company's making good revenue, and yet the customers are unhappy because it costs so much, or they've got prohibitive policies in place.
Let me send a message right now to Microsoft. Dear Microsoft, there are going to be companies and individuals who are going to become very dependent upon Windows 8, 8.1, 8.x operating system. They're going to embed it into their equipment. It will become a very critical component of future configurations. If you're not willing to support this operating system long term, then don't develop it.
Yep.
So now they know. They're on notice now. I just got a message from Microsoft that said, screw you.
There you go.
All of your licenses will expire on January 1st.
Yeah.
You know, I read a story yesterday about a soldier in Dubai that took a picture of 18 computers in an education center on base that, according to him, were running unlicensed XP. Or was it Windows 7? I don't remember. One of the two. And he took a picture of them, and sure enough, it had the notice that this is not a genuine. But then think about it. I really doubt that the military is going to install illegal or to pirate an operating system. B, I've seen computers that I have sold and those that came from stores that with legitimate operating system, and a couple of years later, I would get a call and say, oh, it tells me that the operating system is not genuine. And you realize that it's really Windows is messing up here. And you have to take it and get the CD and the hologram and all that and fix it again. And from then on, everything is fine. So, it's very interesting to talk about licensing with an operating system like Windows, that something like this would happen. And then somebody put a comment there and said, it's in a learning center. They're probably reformatting the drive a lot and reinstalling. And maybe the guy that installed it last time did not have the license at this point. Because this soldier, who they were saying he wanted to stay anonymous, said that he reported it to the authorities there, to his commanders, and nobody did anything about it. And that sounds more like it's not a problem. I mean, we do have the licenses. It's just not showing. I don't know.
I just had a thought talking about Windows XP is that what's going to happen to XP mode in Windows 7 if support ends for XP? Does that, I don't understand. Seriously, I'm actually working on a project now for a customer where I am moving. He's got a bunch of applications that are tax applications that go back to 2003. And it wasn't until 2009 that they supported Windows 7. And so going back, to run these software packages, which he has to do from time to time, he needs to run them in XP. So there are no versions of the software that run anything newer. So my suggestion was he's currently running Parallels on an Apple, on a Mac, to run the XP environment for these applications, and we moved him to Windows 7 under Parallels, and there's just not enough storage or memory in this Mac to have both open at once. So I suggested he take an older laptop, upgrade it to Windows 7, bump up the memory, and we'd run XP mode for these older, and it's working fine. But I'm just wondering what's going to happen now to XP mode on these Windows 7 machines.
I think compatibility mode will be shortened to simply commode. And a big flushing sound will be heard by all.
Yep.
Hey, did everybody get all their Christmas packages? You know, this UPS story was a big holiday story. I got a UPS package yesterday. UPS normally doesn't deliver on Saturday. Do you think they just got overwhelmed because of more holiday shopping or procrastination, people shopping too late? I've had a good UPS experience over this holiday.
I heard it was mainly out west.
Yeah, it was that ice storm.
Logistics, and it was weather related. So it wasn't that the logistics were in place. It just couldn't plan for the weather to be bad. So
I think people are also, I think you can blame people also. People are getting more and more, they can deliver it in 2 days. They can deliver it in 3 days. I've got time. It's we think that they can do amazing things, just like I ordered that thing, Nick, 2 days, and it took 4 or 5 days because there was the weekend in between, and it not always, when you buy something, they don't always have it in stock. So I think it's both sides. And they were trying to deliver on their word that they will deliver it by Christmas, but can only do so much.
Out of my last 3 UPS shipments, 2 of them came a day early.
I think the retailers were also realizing that this year wasn't all that great for store sales. Store sales had really slipped quite a bit. Look at Target. Target got slammed with.
Well, now that's not a perfect example because Target gave away everybody's credit card numbers.
No. But I'm just saying is that there have been efforts to make up for the losses in retailer and trying to push for online sales, so that everywhere you went on Amazon, if you want this by Christmas, you can still order it. And all these online sites that promised that you would get it by Christmas, but they should have put a big, caveat in front of that to say if weather conditions and everything lines up perfectly, you'll get it. But people waiting to the last minute, like Amnon said, you just shouldn't do that. I mean, it's impulsive buying, and retailers want that, but you shouldn't wait till the window for shipping to make your selections.
Yeah. I just figured out how Target.
There's a great Amazon
with Amazon. Go ahead, Bruce, because I've just come up with a solution. I ought to charge Target $1 million for this, but go ahead because I'm sort of shifting gears.
Amazon, they came out with their Kindle Fire HDX, and of course it was a huge seller for Christmas. And when they came out with this little tablet, they came out with this feature called Mayday. And, I just have a lot of respect for Amazon. But the interesting thing about this particular story, on Christmas Day, and May Day is the thing where you can just tap it, and it puts you in contact with a tech support person that can help you with your new tablet. They had a 9-second response time for Christmas Day, May Day callers. That is absolutely incredible. I mean, in the business I'm in, we're being overwhelmed right now with callers. But that's another story. But to have a 9-second response rate on Christmas Day, Amazon must have really staffed up to make for a great customer experience, and that's what makes Amazon, such a great company in innovation and everything. So,
all right, well, Mike,
I've just figured out how Walmart and Target can compete with Amazon. All right.
Okay, how?
You go into Target. Now, the benefit that Amazon has is that they have distributed warehousing such that their inventories are extremely dramatically greater than anything you can find in a retail store. It's just not practical to try to have a store in Morrisville, North Carolina, have the same sort of inventory that Amazon has in their warehouse in Lexington, Kentucky. Anything you buy, at least at this moment in time, from Amazon is going to take at least one day to get there. So you go into a Target store and you're looking, assuming you could get waited on, but you look for this particular kitchen appliance, and they have just about what you want, but they don't have quite what you want. The salesperson says, okay, we can have it shipped to your home tomorrow for $4.95. You won't have to make another store. You want it. This is what you want. You've seen it. We can have it shipped. The trick is that then these companies have to have a computer system that can locate that item in the nearest store, and then that store has the ability to pack and ship that item to that person and get it there in one day for non-overnight freight. I mean, you're not paying. In fact, you could probably even do it with free shipping if they have, because these companies don't pay anywhere near the price for shipping that we do when we go to ship something. If we pay $8 to ship something by FedEx, Amazon probably pays $2. So these stores then, because they generally have a little higher markup, they could make the buying experience one for convenience instead of one just about price. And so they could have it there to them. Now, the reason they don't do this is because their model is brick and mortar. But if they would make a hybrid brick and mortar / online, the main impediment to them doing this, other than trying to train their salespeople to handle the problem, is the computer system. They'd have to hire the guys from healthcare.gov to get a system that would really do what they need.
Well, I mean, people do go to stores and try to find out somebody else somewhere where they can get it faster with technologies. Is scan the UPC and see how much other stores are selling it for.
Now, in stores like Best Buy and so forth, you can actually see if one's available local. And if you got more than one store, it'll show you the store in Roanoke has 3, the store in Lynchburg has 1.
And it's not always accurate when it gets down to the 1s and 2s, but if it's in the 10s, it's almost always accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got to step up that game. I mean, they've got to get these computer systems polished to provide this online experience at a local level, because if I can get in my car and drive over to Staples and buy a hard drive for the same price I can buy it from Amazon, Amazon loses every time.
Why?
If I can get it today
if you can
instead
get
of tomorrow
it,
or day after tomorrow,
yeah,
Amazon loses every time if I can drive over there and pick it up. Now, what does that mean for these stores? It means that they have to do some dramatic improvement to their ability to predict what products people want. They've got to know what hard drive people are looking for. I mean, like I do, Amnon, you go out shopping for a hard drive in the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area, and you can find a bunch of crap. You can find all these green drives and even a lot of the blue drives and all that, but try to go put your hands on a fairly priced Western Digital black label drive at the size you want. I mean, I end up going online ordering it more than 50% of the time.
Right.
That's not hard to predict that people want the black drives, because they're much better quality than the others, in my opinion and experience.
Hey, Nick.
Gene, before you talk to that, Gene says, always ask a retailer to match a price. Most will. Did you know that in Best Buy that they will not even always match their own website? Oh, that's an online price. We can't honor that in the store. I said, well, and here, I did that one time. It was a big difference. I actually had to go home and order it online and then go back and pick it up in the store.
Best Buy's a joke.
I said, you guys are crazy.
They are crazy.
Best Buy's a total sham.
Nick, as far as Prime, do you know if there's something that it says? I mean, what happened if I wanted to order something and you are my neighbor and I let you order it for me? Is that against their terms?
What?
Nick can order anything for anybody he wants to order it from.
That doesn't make any sense. How would your neighbor order something for you?
No. I mean, if I know that you have Prime, and you are my neighbor. And I said, I come and I say, hey, Nick, I need that thing from Amazon. Can you get it for me? I'll pay you. Because I know that you have Prime.
They would have no clue. How could they tell?
Yeah, well, I know, but I mean, here's how can you make money? Is what happens if you're in the
That's
neighborhood.
actually not a bad idea.
It is a good idea.
That's a great idea.
It's a fantastic idea, Amnon.
I'm going to try that, Amnon. The next time somebody says they want to order something, I'll say,
If you're in your oh, look, Andrew's saying no, you can't.
Why?
Yeah. And Andrew follows all the
I don't
rules.
know. But I mean,
stop
if you're in your neighborhood and there are 50 people live there, and one person gets Prime, and then everybody buys from Amazon through them.
Well, yeah, but then how are you making any money?
Well, it's not always just making the money. I mean, you can get
Yeah,
Prime.
but I'm not going to deal with people. I'm not going to have to deal with managing people's orders and stuff and not get anything out of it.
No, you do a $5 handling charge or something.
Yeah, you'd have to do something. Because I mean, then you've got to deal with if
true.
the package gets delayed. Then you've got to explain to this person why it's not here.
Well, at least you could set up a phantom account so that you could order through your own affiliate link.
Yeah.
Speaking of violating terms of service.
Amnon,
Yes, sir.
I have to go at around 11 o'clock.
Oh,
So I have
really?
the specials ready. So
What
let
is
me
this
know
I
when
have
it-
to go thing?
Yeah. I mean, you got to get your priorities in order here, Spence.
All right, time to leave. But I
So
can,
you want to do the specials now?
I can do it now.
It'd be
Okay.
better to do it about 10 till 11 if you don't mind.
No, it doesn't matter to me.
You leaving at 11?
At 11, yeah.
All right, yeah, so let's wait a little longer. That's fine. Let's see what here. I can come to this now.
Arnie says that he has ordered many things for his sons delivered to them on his Prime Amazon account, and that is correct. You can definitely use alternate delivery addresses so that you can buy for other people. I do that all the time. In fact, I had what was it I got for you, Nick? Oh, the UCA 202.
Yeah.
I had it delivered to Nick. It was purchased on my Prime account. You can do that, and so you could actually do that for your neighbors. That's a very good point. They wouldn't even have to come back to your house to get it, so that way you don't have to deal with people.
Well,
And-
you want to deal with people because you want to get the money.
No,
True.
you get that when you order it.
Of course,
You
you
don't deal
can
with them
keep.
twice.
Of course, you can have 100 credit cards in your account for
Yeah,
each
that'd be
person.
a good idea. But anyway, the other thing is on this Amazon Prime is that you can add, I believe it's Andrew said 4 people. You can, if they are friends and family. I don't know about the friends thing. I know
I've
that
had
they are
issues
fam-
with it.
I've
What
never
doesn't
had
work?
any.
What do you mean issues?
My uncle has it. I'm not sure if it has something to do with different last name, but he has a different last name. He kept sending me the invites, and I just couldn't join his Prime.
Oh,
We've done it. I mean, obviously my daughter married has a different last name. She used it, no problem whatsoever.
So her name on Amazon isn't anywhere indicated as Phillips?
No.
No? That's weird. I even sent myself an invite from his account. He gave me his login information. And
If he had contacted Amazon, they would have fixed it.
Yeah, well, it's fine. It's not expensive. It's what, $80 a year?
$80.
Nothing.
Actually, you as a student get it for free.
No, I don't get it for free.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Well, you don't get the movies. If you want to do the downloads, it's not included in the student account. But if you just want the Amazon Prime, you as a student get it for free.
That's fine. I'm fine with the $80 a year. It's where every once in a while I'll throw something up on instant video when Netflix doesn't have it.
Oh, Nicholas.
What?
Nothing.
I use it. I definitely get my $80 worth a year.
Yeah, but how much better value would it be if you were paying $0 per year?
It would be a much better value, but then I would have to pay for things on Amazon Instant Video.
No, that's what I said. If you're using instant video, then you have to pay for it.
Yeah, but so like my sister uses Instant Video all the time, and I wouldn't want her charging up the PayPal account with $5 or $6. I mean, yeah, the movie rentals are sometimes $5, $6, $7 for HD.
If you do that nonsense, I believe that it's a good value.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch
it for freight,
yeah, if you watch it 6 or 7 things on Amazon Instant Video a year, it's paid for itself.
All right, so
everybody should have Prime. If you order from Amazon, you should have Prime.
And particularly if you don't do the streaming stuff, if you have a student in your house, get the student to sign up. They get it for free. And then you can have your student order stuff for you.
Nick talked me into it, and I must say I like it.
It's really bad, though, because like when you order things from websites that aren't Amazon and you have to wait 3 to 5 days, it's an issue.
It's a last resort.
Yeah,
the only reason you use them is because you can't get it through Prime. When I do a search on Amazon, I click the Prime qualified only.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, listen to this story. Business Insider reports that protesters have stopped a bus filled with Apple employees in San Francisco and a Google bus in Oakland. You heard that?
No, go ahead.
Tech companies like Google, Apple, and Facebook provide free buses that take their employees from San Francisco to their headquarters in the suburbs. Protesters are mad at the tech companies because the wealthy tech employees have driven up the price of housing in San Francisco, which is pricing out some people. The buses also use public transit stops. And some protesters think that's wrong. Between 70 and 100 protesters gathered for the blockade of Apple private tech shuttle to protest eviction in the city of San Francisco. The activists in San Francisco were from Eviction Free San Francisco. Our mission, no eviction. Cosa Justa, just cause. Protesters stood in front of the white shuttle bus holding banners and signs. Some peeked through cardboard signs fashioned in the shape of place markers on Google Maps with evicted written across the front. Meanwhile, violence occurred in Oakland, according to reports from Indy Bay, as protesters unfurled 2 giant banners reading, "Techies, your world is not welcome here," and "F you, Google."
I saw
they
that
actually
picture.
spelled the whole thing out. And
Wait a minute. You said violence in Oakland?
yeah,
Are you surprised?
a person appeared from behind the bus and quickly smashed the whole of the rear window, making glass rain down on the street.
Yeah, that's why you have a Second Amendment.
Cold air blew inside the bus, and the blockaders and their banners departed.
So these people are complaining because... I'm sorry, you're not finished?
No, that's it, yeah.
So these people are complaining because they can't afford their house now.
Right.
sucks
Now,
for
That's new.
now I know who said, I think Mike, did you say that? Who said that the reason taxes are going up in our area is because of all the Yankees coming down?
Yeah, these rascals
Hey.
come down here and
No, I mean-
we got to raise taxes for the schools, for the kids. Oh, yeah, well, I was paying $14,000 a year taxes up in Queens and Bayside, and down here it's only $3,000 a year. Yeah, we can afford an increase.
And that's true in a way, but that's the price of progress.
Right. Increasing taxes enhances progress. I get it.
No, I didn't say enhances. It comes with progress. So I don't know. I
think
mean, but to
progress
say,
comes with cutting taxes.
but to say, tech. What did it say?
F you,
Techies,
Google?
your world is not welcome here. I mean, so now what? You're a techie. I don't want you moving into my neighborhood.
You know what would fix it? If they gave them money, they'd go away. I'm serious. It's
yeah.
because they'd say, okay, well, because these people are successful, the whole point of this is that, well, we need to, if you gave us enough money that subsidized us so we could afford to live here, okay, no problem.
All right, so we didn't cover the most important issue about the buses. Do
Yeah.
they run on solar power or owl poop?
Or electric.
Well, that's nuclear.
There was another
It's a hybrid.
there was another story that in Hawaii and some other in California or somewhere, the utilities are fighting solar energy. And they are notifying people that they cannot connect to the grid if they have solar power because it can be dangerous. But they're actively discriminating against people that use solar.
You know, that's about as funny as the global warming activists who are currently stuck in the Antarctic
Yeah.
ice waiting for an icebreaker to come rescue them. Idiots.
Or Al Gore's global warming convention being canceled because it was so cold.
That's the Gore effect.
Yeah.
It's actually, the term has been coined, and it's known. There was a recent protest that was supposed to happen where they had to cancel it because it was 7 degrees, wherever it was. Yeah, I find that, Bruce, it's pretty amazing, that Antarctic story. They're not mentioning anything about how it's Antarctic's summer.
And Brian says that their buses run on natural gas. I think that's fabulous. I mean, natural gas is a waste product. There's more of it than we could ever consume. I'm all for, if I could buy a car that ran on natural gas and it was safe and didn't have to have this gigantic tank in the back, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
But you see, the thing is, they probably bring out the natural gas right out of the ground in Idaho.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a big natural gas production. I
It
know
doesn't
that
have
in
to
North
be
Dakota.
big. I mean, if they would allow North Carolina, and I guess now it's going to happen, to bring...
It is.
Yeah. Then it can be... But if you have to pipe it from I don't know where, the price now is not that great to do that.
The unemployment in North Dakota just dropped below 3%. There's a rule of thumb that says that you will never get below 3% with unemployment, because more than that, the people will never go to work.
Yeah.
People to get jobs in North Dakota are sharing hotel rooms. People who are unknown to each other.
When we were in Newfoundland on a cruise a year ago, we went to this small town called Corner Brook, which is way out there. It's you got to go pretty far east to get to this place. But the guy, the tour guide that took us on a tour of the area, said, "Yeah, you won't see a lot of most of the men who live here who are working in the energy industry, and they're not here now. We can't find enough people to man the energy production or energy, whatever, however it's oil, natural gas, or whatever, oil shale or whatever in Canada. They're exploiting that to the point where they have a job shortage. They can't find people to work. So that you won't find a lot of young men or able-bodied men hanging around this town. They're all out there working in the oil production, energy production.
You know, in 1979, I converted a Dodge van I had to propane, and I was pastor at a church that was out in the country in Mississippi, so we had a big propane tank out there, and I would fill up my own propane. But I made a trip from Meridian, Mississippi, to Miami, Florida, and I had a book that listed all of the propane places where I could buy propane, and I made that whole trip, round trip, stopping and filling up propane. Of course, I still had gasoline if I needed it, and it was just a simple switch on the dashboard, but it was good.
No.
Yeah, I think natural gas, if we could figure out a way to package it safely and economically in a vehicle, would be a great idea, because it burns a lot cleaner than other fossil fuels, and we, like Mike said, we have a lot of it, hundreds of years worth.
There's more fossil fuel available in the United States than there is in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
Mike, do you remember the first round that we were using TalkShoe? There was a problem with it dropping the connection.
Yes.
How did we fix it?
I don't know that we ever fixed it. It stopped doing it. I'm convinced it may be something on their server. The way we got around it was, well, let me take that back. Now that I think about it, I was thinking about that very same thing as well. And as I recall, when I switched over to my own router instead of using that Ubi router, I think the problem went away.
Oh,
don't say that word.
What, away?
No, Ubi. You're referencing Time Warner. A sham of a company.
Yeah, they love you too.
Last night, or 2 nights ago, I'm live streaming. It's 8:30. Internet just goes to crap. Got half a meg up and down. I call them. They're like, oh, there's the recent weather. There's a bottleneck at one of the servers. How do you have a bottleneck when you're an ISP?
It's easy. You just don't know what you're doing.
Oversell.
Oh my God.
Oversell.
There's not oversell. They blame the weather. It hasn't snow. There's no snow on the ground. We got 12 inches of snow 2.5 weeks ago.
Let me tell you something, Nick. Right now, it is pouring down rain here. I mean, we're drowning ducks. It's raining so badly here.
Yep.
It is amazing that this show is on the air.
Yeah, it rains, the internet goes out. But the guy's like, oh, the recent weather. I was like, that's BS. It hasn't rained. It hasn't snowed in 2.5 weeks. There's no snow on the ground. It's been 60. It was 60 degrees for 3 days straight.
No, but he didn't say where the weather was a problem. It's the weather.
No.
Nice
I talked to an Albany. So I called in, and the tier 1 lady was no help at all. So I just asked to be transferred. Then I got to a guy in North Carolina, but their system is different than the one in New York. So he transferred me to somebody in Albany, and the guy in Albany said that the weather has been bad. Which,
the weather's been bad there, so everybody went on vacation. They're all hanging out down in the Caribbean somewhere.
And then the next day it was fine, but I mean, just total crap out at the internet went.
Well, Amnon, you remember the days when you'd have a problem with a T1 and you call the phone company and they say, oh, we're not experiencing any difficulties with that line, but miraculously within a few hours it would work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they couldn't admit that it was down because they'd have to pay, based on tariffs, they'd have to pay or refund you for the time it was down.
Yeah. Never saw a refund of any type.
Nope. No, you never get one.
No, what was I going to say? Shoot, forgot.
So it's 10 of 11. So
go ahead.
If it's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do the well, I have to say, let me just put in front of this that the specials today aren't so special. I think that after the holiday you would see, I'm not sure what you would see, to be honest, in the way of big sales, but certainly not in technology. There's nothing here that jumps out at me as being amazing. There's a few good deals, and there's some things worth mentioning, but actually Tiger Direct did not produce a weekly ad this week. They actually set it on their webpage, search for ads. No ads are available this week because we're having our annual clearance. So if you want to shop at Tiger Direct, you got to go to the webpage and browse through pages and pages and pages of products. Okay, starting at Staples. They've got a pretty good deal on flash drives, SanDisk. This is the best price I've seen out there today, and not only by a few cents. But 8 gig flash drives, $588, 16 gig for $788, 32 gig for $19.99. They've got SanDisk Ultra SD cards, both the standard size and micro SD cards, 16 gig for $18.99, 32 gig for $28.99. They've also got USB 3.0 versions of the flash drives. And here's what doesn't make any sense. In the larger drives, it's comparable price. You would expect to pay a lot more. It's only a few dollars more. 32 gig USB 3.0 drive, $24.99, 64 gig for $44.99. And if you've ever used the a USB flash drive that's USB 3.0. Huge difference in the speed. Works really well. I have one 32 gig. Seagate 2 terabyte USB hard drive, $99. 3 terabyte for $129.99
Where?
at Staples.
Okay.
HP desktop AMD A6 processor, computer only, $349.99, save $130. HP 15.6 inch AMD A10 processor laptop, $399.90. This is a clearance item sale. It's $250 off. Acer 23-inch LED monitor for $129.99, save $40. AOC 27-inch monitor for $159.90, save $140. Seagate 3 terabyte network drive, $149.99, save $30. Western Digital 3.5-inch internal 2 terabyte drive, $119.99. 3 terabyte for $139.99. It will actually be cheaper. Well, not much cheaper. You could buy the 3 terabyte network drive for just $10 more than buying the raw drive.
That has a built-in file server, I believe, so that you can access it from any computer on your network.
Yep.
It does not have to be associated with a computer. And
it's in a lot of cases they'll give you remote access software as well as backup software, depending on the drive. You pay for the feature set, so you may see the identical drive with more features cost more for the software. That's all at Staples. Office Depot's got an HP 10.1-inch touchscreen laptop. It's an AMD A4, $299.99. They've got an 11.6-inch HP touchscreen laptop with an A4 processor, $329.99. That's $120 off. They've got a Lenovo 15.6-inch i3 touchscreen laptop for $449.99, save $180. They've got the Motorola SB6121 cable modem, $69.99, and this appears at many of the retailers today for the same price, $69.
All right, now the 6121, I believe, doesn't do all the bonding or something that the 6141 does. So if you're after performance, I think you need to get the 6141.
Yeah, it depends on. This is good for the first tiers of service on Time Warner, but when you get up into the higher level, high speed, super high speed, you've got to look at the matrix that they have on their website for supported cable modems to tell you what speeds are supported. But I think this will support up to what used to be called turbo mode, which is probably up to about 20 meg. But to go higher than that, you'd have to go with, like Mike said, the 6141. Lenovo 7-inch Android tablet, 4.1, $84.99, save $15. That's all at Office Depot. At Office Max, they've got a Dell 11.7-inch touchscreen laptop for $299.99, save $50. They've got a Dell 15.6-inch i3 touchscreen for $419.99, save $130. They've got a 22-inch AOC LED monitor for $109.99, save $20. They've got the Dell Venue 8 Android tablet for $159.99. This is a new product, save $20. They also have the Dell Venue 8 Pro, which is a Windows 8 tablet, for $279.99, save $20. This is with 32 gig of memory. They've got an APC 600 VA battery backup for $54.99, save $20. And there's some other ones I'll mention later, comparable. They've got a 15.6-inch Lenovo G505 laptop with an AMD, this is an entry-level laptop, with an AMD E1 processor for $279.99, save $90. This is at Office Max. At Best Buy, they've got a Netgear N600 dual-band router for $69.99, save $10. They've got an Acer 23-inch LED monitor for $129.99, save $50. I don't typically talk about speaker systems, but I know somebody who got this one recently, the Logitech Z313, which is a three-piece speaker system, to a left and a right speaker and a subwoofer, as well as a wired remote control. $34.99, save $15. They've got CyberPower battery backup units, 625 VA for $44.99, save $20. That's a good price for that capacity. And they've got the 825 VA for $64.99, save $25. The 3 terabyte Seagate Backup Plus USB 3.0 hard drive for $99. That's a good price for a 3 terabyte drive. Save $20. 2 terabyte Western Digital portable USB 3.0 backup drive for $99. Save $20. And finally, a Belkin wireless range extender for $59.99. And that's all at Best Buy.
Question about wireless range extenders.
Yes.
Have you used one?
No, but I've set some up for people.
All right, well, that's close enough. All right, so let's assume for the moment in an office building that there is a wireless access point that is just out of range. And if you use one of these wireless extenders, do you then, on that extender, do you have to authenticate on the wireless network to then extend the range of that network? Does the authentication pass through to the relayed signal?
The one that I set up, you had to. It depends. If you go with the same manufacturer, sometimes they'll make an extender which will actually form an association with the original access point through and using the whatever security method is there. A basic extender is just going to retransmit the signal, and it's not going to provide any security. A good range extender will actually associate with the access point that it's extending, so that that's the only thing they're extending is that one particular access point. A generic one can be limited to just extend. It's hard. It depends on the product. The one that I set up was one that actually extended just the other Wi-Fi access point, but you do still have to log in. It will be transparent to the user.
And it does not show up as does it or does it not show up as a device on that wireless network? Does the extender show up as a device associated with the wireless network?
Yes.
Either way.
No, the older ones, other types do not.
They're just an RF repeater and not a logic.
An RF repeater, but I would say that those are probably the worst kind to get because they're just going to repeat everything.
And so it does not, then you cannot log in and select the SSID that you want it to repeat.
Say the question again?
So those older ones, let's say that, again, you're in an office environment, like a multi-office environment where there are 25 wireless signals available. You only want to repeat one of them, which is yours, which is the one that you're entitled to repeat. How do you select which signal you want this repeater to repeat?
I haven't worked with any that I've read about them, but I've never actually installed one of those kinds. So I would imagine if you should be able to. It should be discreet enough to be able to select the signal that you want to repeat.
That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely. No, Mike, I mean, Marshall is using one of them. And when you configure it, it comes up just like a laptop. It says, "Here is
which network."
Well,
Yeah,
that's not the kind he's talking about, though.
I'm asking about either one. I've never used either one. I was just curious about how all that worked. I've got an application for one in that environment, but I'm trying to figure out which one to recommend because I don't know that much about them.
Yeah, the type that just does generic. I don't think you can even. I don't think you even find a consumer version of that out there. They're all going to be like if you have a Netgear wireless router today, you could use this Belkin because it's just going to associate with the network and then reamplify that particular SSID.
Okay.
So, and the security is still done in the original router.
This is one of those things that takes longer to explain than it does to set it up and see how it works.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
They're actually the people that I know that have gotten them. It's actually quite easy because, like
that's what I'm saying.
It looks like you're joining the network using the access point or the repeater. Yeah. But you know what? They don't solve every problem. If you're in a really busy area, if the issue you're having at that extended range may not be really range. It could be a combination of range and interference. You may have other access points on the same channel in the building, in which case a range extender, it may help.
Well, you change to a different channel, and you choose a channel that is not as busy.
When you have
That's
that
true.
option.
You can.
Some devices don't give you that option.
That's true. You can actually. Some of them will allow you to repeat the signal on a different channel, which is ideal because then
which is transparent to the PC.
Yep. Yeah, that gets it to different various levels of sophistication depending on the requirement. That's a good thing though. I should do some research on that and come back with a recommendation on, which is the one that works the best for most, consumer environments. I for one think the best solution, if you can do it, is to have additional access points, just have better coverage. But in some cases, there's just nothing you can do about that.
Yeah,
that costs money to run the wire to support the. Just wireless is a flaky. It's by design, or by the fact that it's got limitations in it that, in some cases, are just so random that you can't really plan around them.
Go ahead.
I remember working in a building where there was machines would drop off the wireless network, but only under certain circumstances. It turned out that there was an elevator room on the other side of this wall in this room where there was a big pump that would start. A big hydraulic pump would start when the elevator would run, and it would knock out the electromagnetic field that this thing produced was enough interference to knock the computers off the network. So it would be work fine until somebody got in the elevator, and then it would knock them off. They would have an interruption. It would come back again, and then somebody would ride the elevator again, and it would knock it out. That's a poor design on the shielding on the motor.
Well, probably when they built it, they were not worried about that.
Probably not.
Anyway, Spence, I know you have to leave, but you do need to give me a call. I've got a really important question to ask you about something we're planning to do around here.
Okay. All right, everybody, have a good day, and local people stay dry.
Yeah,
You
be careful
too.
driving in the snow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the snow in the background, it's very dry snow. It's cold.
Okay.
Yeah,
Real
but
cold.
you got the boat, so you can go places now.
That's true. I do. I've got my my waders on too, so I can wade through the flood.
All right.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
See you later.
Happy New
too.
Year.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey,
Nick,
Bruce.
do you want to connect video?
I'm currently working with
Okay, never mind.
OBS.
So it's fine. It's fine.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Bruce, you still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so Chromebook. There's a guide on Lifehack on how to install Chronon or whatever it's called.
Cruton.
Cruton, yeah, Cruton. Is this the one you used, or do you use something else?
Absolutely, that's the one I used.
So I can follow this, and it'll just get me all set up?
Yep,
Alrighty.
sure will.
It was interesting. Last night, I was in the after I finished my show. There was a hangout around 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I hopped on the Chromebook, plugged in a USB sound card, and plugged in a headset, and then was Chromecasting a live stream to the TV while I was doing a hangout on the Chromebook.
Yeah.
And it held up pretty well. It started to get a little sluggish after that because, it was Chromecasting 1080p video, but I think a great device.
Yep. Yeah, and it's since you mentioned that, I'll take the opportunity to do that. For the last 2 business trips, I've brought this, and this is just getting difficult to hold up with one hand now, not because I'm weak. This is a Dell Latitude 6500. It weighs probably 8 pounds or so. And then this is the Chromebook. If you hold them up, you can see the difference in thinness and size. But this business trip that I'm making on January the 6th will be the first trip to Florida in the home office where I leave this guy at home. And Are you
anxious?
I've got a no. Did you say anxious?
Yeah.
No.
About doing it? Okay.
No, because I've brought the Chromebook with me the last 2 trips, and I know exactly what to do and what to expect. So I have a Cat 5, a USB Cat 5 dongle in my bag that I'm not showing, and then I've got this HDMI to digital cable here, and I'm going to leave this down there because this is what I'm going to hook my Chromebook into this really nice Dell 24-inch monitor that I have down there. And then I'm going to access all my work-related stuff using Chrome Remote Desktop on the machine that I'm on right now. I've tested that, for the last 2 trips. It's rock solid. There was one time when I had my wife, we had a power outage, and I just had her turn my computer back on. She turned it back on. As soon as it came on, I was able to access, hit the enter key on my Chromebook, access my home PC, enter in the login password, and be good to go. So there are a lot of articles, and I post a lot of them. If you follow me on Facebook, on Blue Ridge Bruce, or on Google Plus, about this Microsoft Scroogle campaign. I feel has really backfired on them. Again, the number 1 and number 2 laptops sold, even though Scroogle campaign says it's not a real laptop. On Amazon were Chromebooks. 21% of the business market in Chromebooks here currently. It's interesting. I mean, obviously, I still need my Windows desktop to do some things that I do, and certainly to work. But it's going to be really interesting to travel through the airport with just my little solo storm bag and my Chromebook in the back, which this also holds my, and right now inside here is my Audio-Technica ATR 2100 microphone, and its stand is in here. You plug that in the back of the Chromebook, plug earbuds into the end of the ATR 2100, and you got great audio quality. So long live the Chromebook. I think it's more than a fad. It's
interesting.
The netbook was.
My father, his laptop screen died out a few weeks ago, and for Christmas, my mom and I just were like, oh, what are we going to get him? And she got me the Chromebook, and I said, hey, why don't we get him one? And we set it up for him, and he seems to be liking it so far. I mean, the thing boots in 6 seconds. The battery life is unbelievable. I mean, it definitely is not a full laptop. With just Chrome OS, it's definitely not a full laptop. There's things missing. There's no email client. Skype doesn't exist. There's definitely issues that can be worked out. But I mean, for what I've been doing with it, being able to go down to the living room and not have to clunk around a 15-inch laptop and a battery charger, it's definitely doing a good job.
Yeah, I'm answering the question here.
Answer it on the air. Don't just type it.
Yeah, the Acer C720.
No,
that's the one I have.
The question is...
Yeah, that's the Haswell processor. Now, Jeff managed to get one with 4 gigabytes of RAM. You can't find that one right now. There's see a lot of the 2 gigabytes of RAM out there. But even 2 gigabytes of RAM is plenty unless you're running more than 12 tabs or so. But the Haswell processor has excellent battery life. And that's the one you have, Nick?
Yeah, I have the C720 2 gig version, and I'm fine. I mean, I watch videos 1080p Chromecasting without an issue.
Yep.
A nice computer.
Yeah, and like I said, if you want the larger form factor, then the HP 14 might be good for you. The HP 11-inch tablet, now that they've got the charger thing rectified, is a nice looking little tablet as well. But I'm still fond of my Sammy. It's I like the form factor of it, and it's working great.
Nice.
Okay. All right, I'm back in now. Let's see.
You back what?
I'm back. I put it in developer mode, and it wiped all my data. So, not that there's anything on it.
Yeah, and you can get an Acer C720p if you want a touchscreen version. I just don't. I just don't think I need a touchscreen. And by the way, I have to tell you, I have a Bluetooth mouse that I can use with my Chromebook. I also have a USB wireless mouse I can use with my Chromebook. But you know what? I've really gotten used to the trackpad on the Chromebook.
The trackpad's okay on the C720. It's nothing great. Mm-hmm. And the keyboard's a little flimsy. But, I mean, what do you really expect? I mean, it's a netbook. It's nothing more in terms of functionality. To keep that price down, these keys have to be those little chiclet keys. It's an interesting add-on device. I've been doing a lot of game live streaming the past few days, and it's nice because the Chromebook it's 11.6 inch, and it's sitting directly. I have two 24-inch monitors mounted on my desk, and the Acer C720 is small enough that it sits under the monitors without blocking anything. So it's a nice add-on device. I can be browsing Twitter or something else while I'm playing a game and not have to, alt-tab out. And it doesn't block any of my current screen real estate. That's the issue with normally putting a laptop on your desk.
Yeah. And the 24-inch Dell back in my cubicle at our home office, it's one of those where it's got the stand where I can raise it up, and I know that I can raise it up tall enough to where I can slide the Samsung Chromebook underneath it and still be able to see both screens. My only concern is if an IT person walks past my cubicle and asks me a question about what's that. What's that you've got Cat 5'd into our network?
Come on, Andrew.
What?
I want Andrew to connect. He always say I don't invite him to.
He won't connect. It's okay.
Yeah. George says, they got the Tech and Coffee Hangout going on right now, and so they're watching the show while they're in the Hangout, and he says critiquing the show. By the way, George made the cover of a Linux magazine this week.
Cover of what?
Of a Linux magazine. I
Oh.
can't remember. What's the name of that Linux magazine, George? Yeah. When he was over at Og Camp. Yeah, so Jeff and Duke and GeoSpart, Mad Wizard, there's a number of Tech and Coffee guys in here. Yeah. Yeah, he'll send us the link to the magazine.
Hey, Bruce, do both of the operating systems run together?
Yes, simultaneously.
So what do you do to get to it?
Keyboard shortcut, Control, Alt, Shift, and then the right or the left arrow will switch back and forth between the two.
And I think I could set on mine, there is a key above Shift that is programmable. So I could actually set a key on the keyboard to run that command.
Yeah, if you have that capacity, yeah, that makes it even simpler.
I could do like the left control or something to do it. But it's installing something now.
Yeah, I put LibreOffice on the Linux side. I put Audacity over there as well. And a couple other things.
My big thing is Thunderbird. I am having a really hard time without being able to use email on this because I have so many different email accounts.
Yeah.
Gmail
And fortunately for you, because you have an Intel-based processor, you'll be able to use all of the Linux programs. On the Samsung, it's ARM processor, and not all of the Linux programs have been compiled for the ARM processor. Mm-hmm. That's the other benefit of the C720. So,
listen to this here.
Nick had a question in chat from Gene.
Where? How far
He
up?
said he wants to know what he tells his grandson to do to join your show. He's becoming very tech smart.
I don't see that.
Scroll up. Hey, Gene. It says that you said I also have the C720.
Oh, let me find that line. Oh, network. The gaming, I do a live stream almost every night. He's more than welcome to join that. I'll post a link in chat with it. But we do that. We're starting to do that every night now. We just play for like 3 or 4 hours a night now. Here we go.
Target has confirmed that encrypted PIN data was taken during their recent credit card breach. Before they said that no PIN information was taken. Target doesn't think they can be unencrypted by whoever may have taken them because the key was never on the breach system. The article has no details on exactly how the pins were encrypted, But it doesn't seem like it would be hard to brute force them. Are they kidding me? We're still living in a world that has only 4-digit pins, and they think that it's hard to break these?
I guarantee you a lot of people use 1111 or 0000.
Might as well, because what good is... I mean, that's only...
It's really not, yeah.
9,999
You can
options.
have you look at the computers now that you can put in like an 18 string pass, or you can have it solve like an 18 character long password with caps,
right?
Asterisks, symbols, numbers, and it'll do it in like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I mean, how long does it take? Would it take 15 minutes to crack a 4-letter or 4-number?
It's unbelievable. I can't
Stupid.
believe that they still use just 4 digits. It might as well don't have it.
Yeah.
And think what it takes to add letters to that. A couple of line of code.
The issue you have with that is that now everybody has to reset. I mean, all of these stores have to get brand new pin reader things.
Not really. The software needs to change to recognize that they are...
Yeah, but how are you going to type numbers in on that, or letters in on that thing?
The other, yeah.
Yeah,
see, I don't
those
use...
things,
yeah.
Those things can be cheap to replace, especially, you're looking at big... Like, look at a store like Walmart having to replace every single one of those readers.
Well, they can actually... Don't they have other buttons on it, like shift or control or anything, other buttons other than
I think
the
it's
numbers?
just... I think it's 1 through 9, 0, and then an X and a green arrow, a green check mark. I don't think there's anything else. It's definitely an issue, though. It's really stupid.
Yeah,
that we're
it
using.
is.
I mean, now that the power of computers, how easy it is to crack a 4-letter pin.
I know.
So did you trade in your Bitcoin?
No, the
No?
pool I'm in kind of screwed me over.
Did you get those links that I sent you last night, Nick? No.
The ones in the hangout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got them. Would you like to talk about them?
Sure. I mean, here's. It seems like I remember something about Bitcoin.
Yeah, one of them is
Overstock.
Yeah, Overstock.com is going to start accepting Bitcoin.
Yeah, and
I was bringing this up to somebody else. So, let's, for the point of this argument, say the Bitcoin is worth $600 right now. So you go to Overstock.com and you buy a $600 product with 1 Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do with that Bitcoin?
Yeah.
What happens the next day when that Bitcoin goes down to $400?
They lose.
So now they're out $200. They're out $200.
What if it goes up 200?
Oh, it goes both ways.
Right.
Yeah.
You can make money, but you could also lose a lot of money.
Well, that's the way business works.
No. But if somebody
this is a risky thing. Is a risky thing to do, to say, hey, we're going to accept Bitcoin, but they're going to have to turn these things around instantly. The second that somebody buys something, they're going to have to cash it in right away. They'd be stupid not to, because
Well, it depends on whether it goes up or down.
I mean, it's down to $600 now. It was at $1,200 2 weeks ago.
I'm totally with you. But if they had gotten them at 600 and they went to 1,200 and they cashed them in, they would have been laughing pretty.
Yeah, that's
it's no
an
different
interesting
than the stock market. The entire retirement of this country is in the stock market, which is nothing but a crapshoot.
But Mike, you got to think about it this way.
But the store is selling a $600 product. If they're making $300 off of it, then now they're losing money.
No, they're not in the business of investing.
No, I disagree.
They're in the business of selling it and take the money and buy other stuff.
So 0.0000001% of their entire sales will be subject to Bitcoin's fluctuation. Well,
okay, good point.
They're playing with it. I mean, they probably would throw away the merchandise for the sake of getting the experience of dealing with the alternate currency.
I just had a thought about this whole shopping
Gene is
thing
asking
and
a question.
economy and everything, and shopping online and brick and mortar stores. One of the expenses for a brick and mortar store is shoplifting, right?
Mm-hmm.
The online stores don't have that risk at all.
Oh, they have internal.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, as far as employees, you're talking about.
Sure, that's the number one cause of theft in most businesses.
You know, more than outside shoplifters.
And as historically, yes, most of it is an inside job. Now, that being said, and we've talked about it before, there are some companies that have gotten completely away from enforcement of shoplifting. There are several stores you can walk in and steal right in front of them. Now, those numbers are going to certainly change the statistics in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Gene,
Jeff says stealing packages from doorsteps. You know, one of the things I like about where I live right now is
No doorsteps?
There's a lot more honest people here in central Virginia than there are. You know, man, I wouldn't leave a UPS package on my doorstep in Melbourne, Florida. But it does.
But you're missing the point. As close as you are to Washington, D.C., when they start spreading out in your direction, you won't be able to walk out with cash in your pocket. Well, those thugs get in there.
Gene is asking, where is the Bitcoin mint?
Nowhere. It's not a real thing.
What was that other story? Something about China accused of faking Bitcoin stuff? What, I don't know. I didn't read it, but Nick, one of them was
China banning Battlefield 4?
no something about Bitcoin. So China was.
Oh yeah, no, they're doing stuff with trade data, saying that transactions are going through when they're really not.
Oh,
yeah, no, they're just.
so tell us
Talk
about that
about-
game.
Oh, what, China banning games?
Yeah,
It's a common thing. The Xbox and PlayStation. The Xbox has always been banned in China. They tend to ban violent video games for whatever reason, because it makes people kill people, is what the news has told me. But yeah, for whatever reason, China likes to ban video games, even though they have really good internet.
So kids in China cannot play those shoot 'em up games.
Well, they couldn't even buy. I think the Xbox was banned in China for a long time. I mean, any game on the Xbox you can get.
Did you see this moron on TV who held his Bitcoin up to the camera and a guy scanned his QR code?
And stole his money?
Yeah.
Good.
That's your typical journalist, quote unquote.
Hey, Bruce, can you give me that keyboard shortcut again?
Control, Shift, Alt, and then the left arrow or right arrow. Have you already got Cruton installed?
It says done. You can now enter Cruton by using enter Cruton. Or maybe I have to enter it the
Crouton.
first time.
To start Cruton, it's sudo space start xfce4.
Okay. Let's see. All right, it says it's running. Let's try it again.
Look outside the window and see.
Doesn't appear to be.
While we are talking about retail, I'm familiar with a retail store that has a daily sales quota of $100,000. This is how much money they need to hit their daily target.
Mm-hmm.
Recently they had a day. The day was not over yet. They had done $85,000, but they had $17,000 worth of returns.
Ouch.
Now, I just wonder how all that's going to play out. Now, not all those returns are things that they're going to lose money on. If it's like me returning an air compressor that's still in the box, that's not used equipment. They can go put it right back on the shelf and cost them nothing. But they had one guy who returned something that he had even repainted.
But this mainly happens around Christmas that you have
Not
so
really.
many returns.
Not really. I mean, it's worse at Christmas, but it's not the dramatic difference that you and I would naturally think that it is.
Really?
Yeah.
17,000.
You got it running, Nick?
No, not yet. I'm getting it set up now.
Put on your running shoes.
I have to rerun the command. Start XFCE4. Unknown command sudo. It's not good.
You have to put in what I put in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I'm running. It's telling me it doesn't know what sudo is. Oh, I have to go to shell first. That's why.
Yeah.
Let's see, There we go. Welcome to your first start of the panel. Use default config. There we go. What version of Linux is this? Is this Ubuntu?
It is Ubuntu.
Oh, very nice. So it's got an application manager. Oh, that's actually cool how you can just easily go back and forth between them.
Yep.
Actually, when I go back, I think I get a host login.
If
Do you have to
you go
leave
back
that
to Chrome,
terminal
you're
window
going back to
open?
the shell tab. You just close that tab out now.
See, I closed out the shell tab. Wait, hold on. Let me do a restart of this computer because I think I typed something wrong. I could probably have a script run when I start the computer to run that command by itself. Uh-oh, I'm still getting that OS verification is off. Well, that just...
Control D when that comes up.
You have to do that every time?
Yes.
That's annoying.
Don't hit the space bar. You'll lose the development thing. So yeah, as soon as you see that, just Control D and it goes right to Chrome.
Okay. Let's see. Let's try this again.
I'm going to buy my first LED bulb today. They have at Home Depot Cree 60-watt equivalent soft white A19 dimmable LED light bulb for $7.
Let us know.
I'm just curious. I mean, they're claiming that they're coming of age at $7 if they last 7 times longer. I don't mind paying the price.
Yep.
CFLs, I don't like them. They're dangerous. The mercury, I don't care that people say that it is a minor amount in it. It is a serious neurotoxin, and they ought not to be allowed. Oh, the other thing with CFLs is they're only designed to be run straight up. You're not supposed to run them sideways or upside down.
So the ones in my ceiling fan are on an angle 45 degrees.
I run
That is
them
not
upside
an
down
approved
mostly.
use. Oh, I don't know, Gene. He's wanting to know how long before you can evaluate for us. Assuming that I get one today, I'll probably know by tonight whether it's any good or whether I like it. In fact, though, the reality is that I'm asked to do evaluations on a lot of things, technical equipment now and woodworking equipment. And what I've learned is I thought I was a major procrastinator, but what I have learned is the more you use something, the more qualified your opinion becomes. It takes me a while now to do a review on something to get a real meaningful opinion of it. And then, of course, it's just my opinion. But I think, at least with the bulb is concerned, I'm pretty used to using a light bulb. I should have a good feel for it. One of the groups I'm in, there are pros and cons in favor of CFLs, LEDs, incandescents. And one guy who's really very smart says that stocking up on incandescent bulbs is really a false economy. because a major failure of incandescent bulbs is actually the degradation of the vacuum seal around the base that allows the vacuum to disappear in the bulb. And when the vacuum is gone, then the bulb turns into a flash cube.
So yeah, if you keep it for 30 years.
Well, whatever. I don't know what the number is. Andrew, I don't know what it is. I'd have to look back. It's 60 watt equivalent. It is I don't know. Let's see. Yearly cost 22, 27, 9.5 watts. 9.5 watts for a 60 watt bulb. I got nothing against saving money or saving the environment. I got nothing against all that. What I have an objection to is being forced to use something that's more expensive and doesn't perform as well. Gary has a CFL that's been running upside down for 3 years. Well, I've got a can of spray Cramelin that still works after about 15 years. What's the likelihood that most aerosol cans can maintain pressurization for that period of time? However, based on the experience of one can of spray aerosol, I'm not going to stock it up for the next 15 years.
The interesting thing, though, Gary, is if you take another bulb with the same wattage rating and put it in there, you're going to see that it's a lot brighter.
The other thing you run into is, of course, this guy was talking about vacuum tubes, the same thing. They lose their pressurization, or their vacuum, actually, over time. And Gary deals with a lot of vacuum tubes for broadcast transmitters. If they fail, then one of the failure modes is loss of vacuum on the tube, and it will cause this tube to burn up. The tube has to glow in a vacuum. However, my point is that if you take 100 light bulbs and put them on the shelf and leave them there for 10 years, you take them off the shelf, go screw them into a lamp. A certain number of them are going to fail immediately. A certain number of them are going to work perfectly. So what that means is that if you have to have incandescent bulbs, or you really want them, you might have to buy 3 or 4 times more than you would like to have to purchase, so that ones that fail long term can be thrown away. Personally, if it turns out that LED bulbs the test is my wife. She is an incandescent person all the way in many ways. If we plug in an LED, well, Eric likes LEDs, so I probably won't. If she likes the color and the light and the usability LED, we'll switch everything in the house, no problem whatsoever. But until they give us what we're old, we're set in our ways, we're stuck in our old ways. We want what we want, and as long as we can get it, we're going to get it. When we can't get it, we'll do otherwise. Halogens are very harsh, in my opinion.
Yes, they
But
are.
it beats CFLs.
They're also a fire hazard.
Well, if you don't think
If
a
you don't use
CFL is
them.
a fire hazard, I challenge you. If you have more than one that's been hanging upside down for 3 years,
Yeah.
if you have multiple CFLs in your home, I challenge you to go look at those bases and see if you see any brown discoloration on the base, on the socket part
Absolutely.
of that CFL.
Yep.
If you do, it's overheating. Overheating causes fires.
Yeah, what's lighting my face right now is a 8 LED strip. I bought it at Lowe's probably a year and a half ago. I've got it mounted underneath here. I can give you, well, you won't be able to see it, but it's right underneath my desk here. Mm-hmm. And then right up here, where I'm pointing, are 2 LED, 3 LED bulbs in each one of them that just screw into the bookshelf. And then what's lighting me behind is 3 CFLs and a ceiling fan. And so I've been very pleased. And the LEDs in this 8 LED strip, it's about 2.5 feet long, and it's got a more warm glow to it. So I've been pretty pleased with it.
CFL's LEDs, halogens, those are all great for specialized lighting applications. If you understand color temperature of lighting, if you know what color temperature you need and set it up, you can get some stunning video using those bulbs. They're excellent special application bulbs. My objection, though, is primarily as CFL as a technology. I don't like overheating electronics in my house. I don't like these discolored bases. When you get a chance, Bruce, how long have those CFLs been in?
They've probably been in 6 months.
Just when you're messing with them, look at the bases and see if there's any discoloration. I'm not just dogging on them. I would love to know that the ones that I bought were defects or that they were early models and that the problems have been solved, because to me, I've still got some of them. I saved them. And to me, I'm an electronics guy, and I'm telling you that when you take plastic and it starts turning brown from overheating, that's not a good thing.
Right. When those CFLs go, they will be replaced by LEDs. I mean, I still have in our closet, we probably have 15 or 20 incandescent bulbs still, here. But I will switch from the CFLs. And these are the only CFL bulbs really in the house right now, are the ones in my...
Well, the room that I'm in right now has 4 CFLs in it.
Mm-hmm.
They're in my overhead fixtures. It's the 260s, and there's CFLs in here. To do the show, because the light is very much a part of the illumination now for this camera, I have to turn them on 15 minutes ahead of time because they change intensity and color between the time you turn them on and the time they get to full tilt.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Mike.
Doug asked the question, I have some oxidized contacts. Yes, if you have contacts, you have oxidized contacts. It has been recommended to buy keg deoxit. Any experience with this? What do you think, Amnon?
I swear by it.
I gave Amnon a can of it. I've been using that and its predecessor for 30 years. And if you have contacts with audio equipment and don't have a can of deoxit, you're missing the point.
Where could I buy some deoxit locally?
I don't know about locally. Sometimes Radio Shack has it, believe it or not.
Amazon.
But Amazon is where we get it. It's about $13, $14 a can. And let me just tell you that if you buy it, don't spray this stuff on there like a Freon wash. You just, as soon as it sprays, you take your finger off the button. As soon as it's wetted, then you're done. In fact, you can actually take a little tissue or something and the wetting that's on there, you can kind of scrub the contact like a quarter-inch connector. You do not need to see visible spray on the connector for it to work.
Here, Mike, look at this.
Look at what? I don't think I'm monitoring the stream. Hold on a second. Yes, I am. Look at the.
So I got it all
at
set up,
this.
Bruce.
Now you tell me, Brent's an electronics guy.
Now,
You tell me that that's safe in your home. It's not. What the defenders would say is, yes, you have circuit breakers on your electrical supply. If this thing shorts out or burns up, then it's going to trip the breaker and everything will be fine. Well, yeah, but do you know what? Breakers can fail, and this thing can cause a house fire. And Brent works in the LED field. I don't know where. I don't know other than Cree. I don't know who does LEDs. And I'm sorry. I think that's criminal for you to have that in your house, Amnon. I hope you're not using that bulb.
No, this is in the drawer because it's too strong.
Throw it out.
No.
Call hazmat and throw it out.
I'll use it. I'll take a chance. Mike, I really think that all the CFLs will turn a little brownish right where the tube enters the transformer or whatever the...
Okay. Amnon, don't take my word for it. Brent knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Brent, I would ask you to post in chat Do you think any brown discoloration at all on the base of a CFL bulb is acceptable? Any at all? Now, I'm not saying that I know the answer to the question. I'm asking. He knows more about it than I do. And I don't think any discoloration at all is acceptable. Now, we'll see what he says because there's a delay here. Gene, I'll show you if I can get back to it. Gene's asking what are Cree bulbs. Cree is a manufacturer. They're actually here in North Carolina. And they manufacture, they've been in the LED business. They've been a pioneer in the LED business for years. And they've actually been a good stock. And unfortunately, I suspect that we've missed a golden opportunity because LEDs are going to have a good run for quite some time. Gene, if you click on that link, you will see what a Cree bulb is, Cree LED. Either Brent's not listening.
Alrighty,
there
guys.
he is.
I got to go.
All
right, Nick.
Take care, Nick.
Thanks.
See you guys later.
Talk to you later.
So Brent says, that's from heat for sure. I would not trust having it in my house. Now, that's the one that Amnon held up. But my question to you, Brent, was let's assume that it had any discoloration at all. Would you, if I see any discoloration at all, the bulb is toast? Because that tells me that it's not properly designed, and running it longer is only going to make the problem worse.
Every bulb that is in here that I just looked has a little brown right around where the tube enters the plastic. I mean, the rest of it is white, but right around...
Be careful now that that's not some sort of sealant at that point. If it's a sealant, it could be brown. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual discoloration of the plastic itself around the inverter at the base of the bulb.
This is the plastic itself.
I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't touch it.
I mean, they have not even been on for a year.
I know. They're junk.
So what do you do?
Well, I'm going to go buy an LED bulb today. And if I find out that LED is a good replacement for CFLs, if I can live with the light, I'm probably going to go buy 25 or 30 of them. And every CFL in this house will be taken down to the hazmat disposal location and whatever.
Well, I guess I can take them back to Home Depot.
Oh, they'll take them back. Eric is exactly right. And that's hard for me to say. But he said we should have skipped the CFL stage. And I agree. Now, the reason we didn't get to skip the CFL stage is because of price. I mean, the first LED bulbs were, $69? And Andrew asked a great question. How are they UL certified? Gary and I could have a field day on that one. I'm not sure UL certification is what it used to be. Previously on this show, I mentioned that I looked at some extension cords. In fact, it was a year ago, probably for Christmas lights. I looked at some extension cords that when you're going to go buy 10 or 12 of them, you want to obviously save some money. You want to buy them as cheaply as you can. And I had some in my house that I had purchased previously. I looked at them. And when I looked inside, the blade that holds the plug did not even fully cover the blade. It in other words, instead of having the what is it, bronze metal, I forget what it is, that would come in contact with the blade on the plug, instead of it being a flat blade that came in full contact with the plug, it actually was turned sideways so that you were sticking it in like I forgot.
Like into a fork.
It. What?
Like into a fork.
Like exactly, into a fork instead of into this broad receiving mechanism. Right. And I threw them in the trash can. Absolutely not enough contact space for that poorly designed, and they were not UL approved. So I did say at that point, when out looking for extension cords, make absolutely sure they have the UL label on them. I'm not convinced that that's a panacea, but I am convinced that they are likely to be better than the Chinese crap that's out there. Now, having said that, Andrew makes a point I don't know where he got it, but I'm not doubting him. He said that 70% of products that are marked UL are not. I don't know where that number comes from, but based on the way things have gone in this country with cheap Chinese crap that Gary really likes, I'm confident there is an awful lot of mismarking.
Well,
now, Brent says that Phillips Lighting recalled over 100,000 LED bulbs a couple of months ago. Brent, why? Why did they recall them? And should I not go out and buy an LED bulb today to play with it? Are we not there yet? If I pay $6.97 for an LED bulb, limit 10 per order, am I wasting $7? Is it something to play with? I just want to see what the light looks like.
I mean,
and Andrew
they
says,
have,
I don't think we're there yet.
They actually have a big display at Home Depot for LEDs, and you can with light fixtures, desk fixtures, ceiling fixtures, and you can see what it looks like. It looks normal.
Well, these are Cree bulbs. Brent says they were China crap, and that's why Cree builds in RTP. And I don't know anyone at Cree. I don't have any particular affinity for them, but if they're providing jobs for my friends and neighbors, then I'll pay a little more for a bulb if it's a good bulb. Gene, please let us know what you think of the bulb as well. We'll see if we have the same consensus. I'm probably going to leave here after the show. I've got to go pick up some things on that side of town, and I'm probably going to go over and pick one up. They've got 600 of them in stock, supposedly. Of course, after today's show, now they'll be sold out before I get there, but they got like 1,200 of them or more in stock over near Amnon.
Yeah, I remember the days of the Internet Center when Jim Duffy was teaching, and he was using our classroom, and Cree was sending 2 or 3 people every time to the classes, and they always brought with them sort of like the latest thing. And I mean, we saw some LEDs, and this is back in 96, 97. Things that, wow, really? I mean, like the light, the LEDs that they use in traffic lights are Cree.
Yeah, and sometimes when you look up at these traffic lights, of course, the reason they went to these bulbs is because they don't have to be replaced as often.
Right.
Which dramatically lowers the maintenance cost, even at the higher cost for the bulb. But even then, it's not uncommon to look up and see a couple of LEDs burned out in the traffic light.
Well, yeah, I mean, to see a whole thing is not likely, but you can sometimes catch a few.
Pick out a couple of LEDs, yeah.
Yeah. Why is Andrew laughing?
He says many of them are burned out here in New York City. Well, but Andrew, you have a new mayor for New York who is dramatically concerned about the safety, well-being, and happiness of all of its citizens. And all of those are going to be fixed probably within a week of him taking office. So you can celebrate that upcoming event. Your life is going to improve dramatically now that you've thrown out the trash and brought in the savior for the city of New York. And actually, Gary may be answering the question here. He says he knows a guy from UL at RTP who went to China to set up a Chinese UL lab. He told him that China UL lab is a joke. If these Chinese crap makers are getting UL certifications with a Chinese quality UL lab, then I think that's probably hitting the nail on the head. I mean, I spent a little more time with Christmas lights a couple of weeks ago whenever my wife was setting up for Christmas. I'm very unimpressed with the quality of Christmas lights. Now, granted, we don't need 16-gauge cable on all Christmas lights because the Christmas tree would collapse under the weight of the wire. But the reality is that some of these little tiny wires on these Christmas lights, they have 120 volts on them. and that little wire can carry an interesting amount of current for a short period of time. And I'm scared of them. Even though they're fused, I'm scared of them because whenever you look at Christmas lights, if you look at the plug, you may never have noticed it before, but when you look at the AC plug at the end of a Christmas light, if you look carefully, there will be a little panel that says slide. When you slide that panel, you will see 2 fuses. Those fuses are sub-1 amp fuses typically, well, depending on the light. But there were little fuses in there, theoretically, that protect your house from burning down. However, there are 2 problems. Those fuses are the same lousy Chinese crappy quality that the bulbs are and the wire is, plus the quote-unquote holders that these fuses snap into are just bent metal. They have no real, they're not beryllium copper or anything. They're just real crappy garbage connectors. And in fact, we had a string of lights that wouldn't work. It turned out both fuses were good, but one of the fuses was not making good contact with the connector, with the contact. Thanks, Doug. With the contact for the fuse. Well, when you have electrical devices that are in almost good contact, that creates arcing. Arcing is fire. Fire begets fire. Not good. Particularly if it's on the side of the fuse that is not being fused. It's on the outlet side instead of the fuse side. So anyway, enough of that.
Oh. See you next week, Doug.
I've just, with the woodworking things I've been playing around with, I've become hyper safety conscious because I've had these 10 fingers and these 8 fingers and 2 thumbs for 60 years, and I'm going to try to hold on to them.
Keep trying.
I hope.
What else?
Well, I believe that's it.
All right, so we can end it a few minutes early. Give me 5 minutes to do something else.
There you go.
All right. That was fun. That was fun. Yes, it was.
10-4.
Okay. Guys, have a Happy New Year. Bruce wants to say something. I can see it.
I was just, Happy New Year. And maybe we'll have some 2014 tech prognostications next week.
Everybody in the chat, have a Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us. Mike, thanks again.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Magnom, Katie, and Dana. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. And I don't think there are any shows tomorrow. Or this week, for that matter, because of the holidays. So we'll see you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs